idiots! Incompetent buffoons!
What is it now, Commander?
Consummate morons, incapable of coherent thought!
Are you watching that show again?
Yes.
Why didn't you just watch Pop Blender and Matthew's discussions, news, reviews before the show came out? Whether you agree or disagree, the perspectives provide enough context to know if the show or movie is worth your time or not.
Yes, I know. I will not miss another Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central on Pop Blender's channel.
Be more than once a man by watching Pop Blender and Matthew talk about pop culture news, discussions, and reviews on Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And now you know.
Televiper, be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe so we do not miss another episode, and hit that bell notification.
Hi, and welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, Larry, Punk. I think I've been called a lot worse this week.
Yeah.
Be my guest, as long as it's not a liar or PDF file. I want to say welcome to my special guest, Pop Blender, Brandon or Brendan, because people keep asking me.
Brandon. Brandon.
And
Like Brandon Walsh. Remember that guy from 90210?
I do. I love Brandon Walsh. And a matter of fact, if you've ever seen the movie that he did, not obviously Brandon Walsh, but the actor, where he's a serial killer, it is awesome.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that.
He's just this stone-faced serial killer, but he falls in love with this girl, and when he like beats up her ex-boyfriend, they won't leave him alone. It's hilarious, like because you don't see him in that.
Was it one of those straight to DVD ones?
Oh yeah, it was not.
It had to be. It had to be. I don't ever remember him being in anything, a feature film. Like,
and he was in Tombstone too. That's right.
Oh, Tombstone 2. Okay,
but not Tombstone Part 2. Tombstone also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was in Tombstone.
Yeah, he has a bit part. He's the brother. Isn't he the brother?
Wow.
I don't know. Like he basically he's actually he's the sheriff.
I need to look that up.
He ends up becoming, I think, the sheriff, right? He doesn't figure out to the end that the guys that he's aligned with are the asshole, the cowboys.
Yeah, I gotta look that one up.
Oh, you can't miss him. It's not like it's not a super small part. It's not Jean-Claude Van Damme in Electric 2 Breaking 2.
Oh Lord. Okay.
it's a real part. Like if you watch it right now, you'd be like, oh, there's Brandon Walsh.
Well, how in the world? Okay. Well, we'll get into it. I'm sure we will. Yeah, Billy Zane's cool.
Well, let's say hi to the chat right now. 34 of you. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. But more than anything, hit the link that I put in there and go over to Pop Blender's channel and subscribe over there, because not to sound like an egotistical asshole, but I have a few more subscribers, and most of you guys are probably subscribed to this, right? Why are you here if you're not? All right. So the first person we got in is a 3-star draw, who you may know as his cousin.
You may know.
He would know his real name.
I think I do.
We have JLS Comic, Sherlock, who will be a future guest soon. We have possibly Maeve, and I don't believe I've ever seen you here before.
Possibly Mav is my son.
Oh, well then I know I've never seen you, and thank you for joining. And sorry about the swearing. Your dad does worse.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. He's fine. He's in 11th grade.
David R is here. We have GI Bro. What's up, Punk Army? Yo, Pop Blender. We have Machine Man here. Ronnie Trickshot is in the house. Here is a link to his channel. Christoph Scuba, Francis Brady is here. Look, Pop Blender is on screen and in the chat. We have PNC, Derek Holliman, Krusty O'Crow, my moderator, Matthew Madsen, and also the co-host of The Big Show. Need a better name than that. It's very
I know.
Generic.
I know. We'll figure it out along the way.
War Chest Full of Toys is here. Woodman 29, Christine Mendoza, Plastic Fantastic, who will also be a future guest eventually.
Awesome.
Woody 222, who is a past guest.
That was a great one.
Keep doing that.
That was a great one.
GI Bro, I have not asked yet. And hey, I'm sorry, I did not mention your arms. Best arms. And you were witness to it too.
Those arms mentioned themselves.
Backwoods is here. We have, I guess we'll do it really quick here.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk. Frostbite GI Pro with the $5 super chat. Good day, Punk, Pop, and everyone else. Dreadnought K6, who's become one of my favorite people.
Yeah, I got some Instagram voice messages to actually catch up on from Dreadnought.
Yeah. We have Len that is in the house, Aaron the Toy Enhancer, and that's everyone as of right now. I think if I missed you, I do apologize. Make another comment and I'll say hi, or send me a super chat and I'll read it. Isn't that how bigger channels are supposed to do it?
Something like that.
We only read super chats.
Only read super chats. Now listen, if you're some of the streams I watch, Matthew watches that have like 18,000 people, 5,000 watching. The only way you could even try to is super chat. Occasionally they will read regular chat, but it's really hard. They have moderators, like multiple moderators and all that stuff.
There is a difference between, and I've said this before, when your channel becomes bigger and you have that many people, and I get anywhere from 16 to 2,000 chat messages, and a lot of it, yes, is you guys communicating.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine if you're a bigger channel and you have 5, 6, 7,000 people watching, you have to read the super chats because those people have paid something. So yes. I can understand that you get to a point where you have to kind of throw something out there and say it. But when you haven't got to that point and you refuse to read other things because you just want, now that is milking.
I agree 100%. I agree. I'm not anywhere close to that level. You know, I'm not close to monetization by any means either. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100%. I agree.
And my other moderator, Action Face, has jumped in. Sure, just skip over me. Ignore your I didn't even see you.
Well, I saw Sharlock in there too, but I wasn't sure why you were going. Okay, I thought so. I couldn't remember. I was just kind of
said he's a future guest.
That's right. That's right. My bad.
And then Travis B74, poor guy, has to have the name to be part of the travesties. Jay Astro is here.
It's rough.
So no milking in the creamery. No. Hey, listen, that's where you get all the milking at. All right, so let's just ask, where does your name come from? And not the name Brandon or even
the screen name?
Pop
or my okay, so there are two places.
I don't care why your parents name you Brandon.
Yeah, no, well, at this point, at almost 50, I don't either, actually. So two places. I was trying to come up with a name that was relevant for obviously pop culture, right? Now, as I scanned the YouTubes and other stuff, it was like, okay, there's pop nerds, or there's so many, like to even try to go through the list, there's a million of them. And in my mind, I was like, well, I kind of want to kind of throw all the stuff I like in a blender and talk about it. So if it's video games, if it's movies, TV, Hollywood news, even political stuff, which I don't even really touch on much. I'll make a comment here or there, but mostly just popular culture, comic books, something like that. Throw it all in a blender. So in my mind, I was like, okay, well, cool. Pop blender, not popular blender, not, 3 words, just something easy, something quick, something that people could remember. That was one of the main things. I was like, can you remember this if I use it? And so the more I started doing it, started messing with the logo, and I like, okay, inspiration from G.I. Joe, which whatever. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not a toy channel, but I do love my G.I. Joe. And so that's kind of how it came together. And then the hat, honestly, so when I went to Joe Fest and I brought the fedoras, I was having fun with them, just wearing them and hanging out with you guys and stuff. And then when I got back, when I started to make video content, I was looking at old pictures, and my grandfather always wore like a fedora type hat. Like, we still have them. We've saved them after he passed, his pipes and stuff like that. And so a lot of the inspiration, most of it is popular culture. And then just kind of chuck all that stuff in a blender, and I'm just going to talk about all of it. And then the other part is my grandfather's nickname was Pop. So his name was Howard Wilkinson, and but we nicknamed him Pop, and that's what he went by. Like, I got a lot of grandfathers, right? Yeah. And so the hat, and I have a couple other ones, but I just usually wear the white one because I like to be the good guy. Is kind of for him as well. That's where that comes from.
Well, I like when there's an actual reason behind it.
Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, look, man, there's AI generators, there's stuff people can use. They can, you got all these word things, you can throw it in there and it'll spit out something at you, right? If you're having trouble coming up with an idea. I thought about it for probably a good 2 or 3 weeks before I finally settled. Some of them were like, ordinary average gamer, or some ordinary gamer guy, or dad something, like, because I am much older, and you think about starting a YouTube channel, usually it's people in their 20s, right? Teens, 20s, whatever. And so it's kind of hard to come across as a gamer guy, whatever. So yeah, there actually was some reasoning behind it.
I don't know. There's a lot of YouTubers that are starting now in their 50s and 60s.
It's true.
And I mean, the amount of stuff that I watch, and they'll showcase someone who they knew nothing, and they just started doing it, and as a little hobby, and trying to get a little bit of extra income if they got monetized, and then they kind of see where it's taken off. But
yeah,
I don't try and learn how to edit anything, so I'm not helping myself.
Well, I mean, that's something that I struggle with. I'm actually pretty quick. If I'm hands-on learning, I'm usually pretty quick to figure stuff out, and I've figured out basic novice editing tools, right? But I also have inquired into hiring someone.
I can see doing that as you grow, but
right.
Man, it's
not right now. I don't make enough money to hire someone at $600 a month. I don't put out enough content for that kind of thing.
Well, I can tell you, I don't even make that. So
right. I mean, in my regular job, I guess.
But I'm saying, I mean, I don't make that on YouTube to even justify.
Yeah, right.
Like hiring someone. I've never looked into it, so.
So I met a guy at my bar. For those of you who don't know, I bartend, have for a really long time, 20 plus years. And I met a guy at my bar one night, and he saw me wearing my shirt. I had a couple shirts made, and I wore them to Joe Fest, had my logo on it. And he asked me about it. So I kind of gave him the details, and he said, well, my wife is a YouTuber, and that's all she does now. And I was like, oh, cool. What is it? What does she do? Well, she's one of the makeup people, right? And she has over 100,000 subs. It's all she does for a living now. A company send her makeup. She puts it on, tells you what she thinks about it, that kind of deal. And so he actually gave me about 3 or 4 things. And he said, now, once you kind of start to grow a little bit and maybe you feel like you really want to invest, then he told me, he said, you can do this, this, and this. And those things were, 1, go to Staples, get a bunch of business cards with a QR code with a link to your channel and hand them out. 2, go to a website that directs you to the Philippines, where there are thousands of tech people dying to get jobs for $7 an hour, $6, $7, $8 an hour, who will edit content. They're social media managers. They do logos. He said, dude, they will email you so much you'll have to tell them to stop, because they'll keep making cuts of your videos and keep sending it to you. And you just tell them what you want it to be like, and they will keep sending them, and you will literally be like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. I'll pick one. And so that's one way to do it. If you're in that next kind of phase of where you really want to grow, and it depends on what kind of videos you're doing too. The videos you do, you don't need an editor, Lawrence. Like you do what you do, and it does good for a reason. You don't need somebody chopping your stuff up. Me, pop culture stuff, movies, making jokes and stuff. You need some of those memes thrown in and stuff like that,
And when I've thought about doing movie stuff and breakdown of different types of movies, and obviously not on this channel but elsewhere, that's something it takes time. But because I'm not trying, I mean, if I do like the movie breakdowns of what I wanted to do, it's not going to be anything brand new, so it's not time sensitive. It's more sensitive to have 7, 8, 9 videos done and then have them set up so they drop once a week or whenever it is.
Right.
This was my whole idea with the movies. And then you can work on doing more during that time. So so you don't have a lull. You have a bunch of them all set to go. The last thing you want to do during the summer, that's something you do in the winter when you're stuck in the house.
Yeah,
there's really nowhere to go. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how old are you?
49. I turned 49 on September 4th.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
I am almost there. Still got a couple months. So where did you grow up
at? Born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. And have been here my entire life, actually.
Now, aren't you an Alabama fan?
I am, and it's interesting because my mother's uncle and his wife, my uncle Judd, and her uncle Judd and Aunt Mildred lived in Birmingham. And so as kids, an easy vacation, easy trip was to be able to Grizzlehorn 45 today. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So an easy trip to take when you're in Tennessee, especially, Nashville, is to drive a few hours south and go to Birmingham. There's the Birmingham Zoo, which used to be an amazing zoo, much better than what Nashville had. Probably still does. I don't know. And then there's some other sites to see, but we'd visit with my relatives, and then they were season ticket holders to Alabama football. And back then, Alabama played at Legion Field, which was in Birmingham. And they would only go to Tuscaloosa about a couple times a year, really, maybe 1 or 2 home games a year. And so I grew up going down there, and we would pair that with a trip to the zoo and go to an Alabama game. And it was usually against Tennessee or Vanderbilt. And so this was in the late 70s, early to mid 80s. So for a few years in a row, several years in a row, my sister, my mom, and I, and when my mom and dad were together, he would, I think, go down there with us. It's hard to remember when I was like 3 or 4, but we would go down there and we would get to go to an Alabama game. And then my mother had season tickets to Vandy up here. And so when Alabama, they played home and away every year in the SEC. So the next year they'd come to Vandy. That'd be the game my sister and I would go to. And we'd sit with my grandfather and my mom, and we'd watch Alabama come to Nashville. So growing up in those formative years, we watched a lot of Alabama football for several years in a row. So that's why I'm an Alabama fan.
But no, really. Tennessee.
No, and to be quite honest with you, so some of the Tennessee fans in my family were on my dad's side of the family. And I always thought they were just so obnoxious and rude. And like, I don't know how to explain it, because living in Nashville, most people think, oh, you're a Vandy fan. Vanderbilt's right down the street, west downtown. But that's not the case. But if you encounter UT fans who know you're from Nashville, then they don't think you're a Bama fan, and they've owned Vanderbilt for like 100 years. You know what I mean? And so they just assume, it's like, that's the school you support. But my memories as a kid of UT fans was not very good. And so I really shied away from, I can't stand the color orange. I really can't. Like, I can't stand the color orange at all.
I don't know, it sounds like another set of fans that I know. Anyway,
I believe it. Let me guess. Are those what are their colors? Garnet and or something? Garnet and silver or something like that?
Red and silver.
Okay.
Red and silver.
Whatever.
I'm sorry, the red and silver.
My bad. You got to put the in front of it. Any school that has to put the in front of their name is way too self-important.
Yeah, well, that's all they had there.
It's true.
That's all they had there. All right?
Oh, I hate them though. They did whoop our ass though one year, 2015, I think. Ezekiel Elliott ran all over our ass.
Oh, so did Michigan last year too. So.
Yeah, let's not get into that, or maybe we will. We'll see.
All right. So,
but
all right. Okay. So let's just get in. Do you remember like family? Let's get that. Family, siblings. Did you have any?
Yeah. I have an older sister. She's 5 years older than I am. And you know the old saying about how the older sister or the older sibling kind of has it worse. They're the first kid, and so they don't get away with anything. Well, that's how it is. There she is.
It's not what Jan says. Or my son.
Well, man, I'll tell you, in most cases, now maybe it's different now, because I think, that's a whole nother conversation about parents now, including myself, yourself, whatever. But, back in those days in the 70s or whatever, I do feel like it was a classic cliche, but I do feel like it was kind of true for the most part, is that the first kid, the parents are all over them, right? They're just like, oh my God, don't fall down, don't put your eye out, don't touch the stove, don't do this, don't do that, right? And by the second time the next kid comes around, it's like, we've been there, done that, you know what I mean? Like, whatever, go hurt yourself.
I mean, I'll give you that. My dad wasn't like that, but that may have also been because he was the third oldest out of 7 children, so maybe he saw it. Maybe he saw it, So, I was the oldest, me and my sister, and I don't remember I don't remember that at all.
I mean, it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not like when I say my sister got the worst of it. No, I think there were more expectations for her growing up, and not in a bad way. They're just regular expectations that parents have for their kids.
After your sister, your parents are like, our kids are stupid, so we're not even going to try with this one.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. My sister isn't, though. She's the responsible one. She's the one who has buckled down and, got good grades in school. Now, neither one of us went to college. But, my sister, she's worked for the post office for, damn near 30 years. She's been at the same job for 30 years. She worked third shift for, 30 years. Practically. And there's an advantage to doing that. My father worked at the post office for 30 freaking years and retired with benefits and pension type of deal. And so the ability to maybe work somewhere for a long time like that and retire at a certain age, you don't have to wait till you're 72 or work forever, like I'm probably going to have to do. And so my sister, though, I think because growing up, it's just, she mentality wise, has basically always done the right thing. Now, don't get me wrong. We've all made mistakes. We all do stuff. But for the most part, my sister is very responsible, type of person that balances their checkbook and crosses their T's, dots their I's. You know what I'm saying? Everything that see, it's weird hearing me say this in my own head. Everything a normal person would do, I guess, but I'm not a normal person, Lawrence. That's the thing. So she's a normal person in my eyes, and she's done great for herself by herself. She has paid all her own bills, bought her own property, has horses, almost 10 acres of land, works, takes care of her horses, and does it all by herself, working third shift overnight, living 50 minutes outside of Nashville from where she works. And she does it all by herself. I respect that. And that's someone who's tough. That's tough to me.
I feel like I should have had your sister on, not you.
Dude, right? Yeah, now sometimes you'd have a hard time understanding her because her southern English is. No, I joke, but she is southern. That's for sure. She is southern, but it is awesome. It's funny, but she's a great woman. She's done great things and done it all by herself for herself.
Okay, so what was the first toys you remember like playing with as a kid? Did you? It sounds like now. Did you have any like? Obviously, she's 5 years older. You don't really have a built-in play friend, right?
No. She used to punch me in the nuts all the time when we were younger. And that's true. She'll tell you that. She'll be the first one to tell you, but it's not because I wasn't teasing her.
JLS, I'm always asking for the picture first. You just have any pictures, and then it's like, oh.
You have to. I mean, sorry. It's just the way it is.
And Men Joza has changed their name. That is Christine and
Okay. Because I knew he had mentioned it was Joe.
Is Christine, are you a boy or a girl? Yes. And I don't mean that to be what is yes? You said yes to both.
A guy. It's a guy.
Okay.
And he had said his name was Joe in one of our streams. I think it was mine and 3-Star during one of our Sevens Wild streams on Wednesday night.
All right.
I'm almost positive he said, "Hey, my name's Joe, by the way." So that
it doesn't matter. I'm just
right. Oh, of course not.
You see Christine, you obviously like, oh my God, we actually have another girl in here.
Do you know a lot of people sign up to YouTube with like their name? Like one of my accounts is my first and last name, and I would super chat with my first and last name, and then I was like, that's kind of weird. Like I need to change that.
But Christine is not a guy's name in any way.
Not typically, no. But and look, maybe one day you'll have.
I don't care.
I don't know, and find out the story. But I'm with you though, because naturally, just reading when you're sitting there and you're doing a show and you're talking and then you're just kind of reading through the chat. Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, but let's see. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Hey, don't be sorry. I just I didn't want to ask because not Rachel is not Rachel.
No, never ever. Or never be sorry about that. That's for sure.
All right. So
life's too short. So anyway,
first toys you remember playing with as a very young kid. I don't not the ones you fell in love with, but
first toys that I really remember playing with were little peoples. Little people, the Weeble Wobble little peoples.
Insulted by that?
Well, okay. No, and you shouldn't be. You should be proud having your own time zone, Lawrence. So I had the little persons. I don't know. Anyway, little peoples. I remember the little Weeble Wobbles. My dad, from a brand perspective, those specifically, Legos were not anywhere near what they are now. Lincoln Logs, the erector sets. Remember those, but I was a little young for them. The racetracks where you had the little trigger and you had the racetrack. And I remember, I think my cousin had he had the G.I. Joe one. I remember I had pictures of it, but I don't know if he had it. He'll say, but we had like Darryl Waltrip and Richard Petty, and these little racetracks and and you build them. My sister and I. We love those
race cars.
Oh yeah, man. No, absolutely. It was called Winston Cup back then, by the way, not NASCAR or some bullshit. It was named after tobacco. But anyway, so
it was called the Winston Cup.
It was, but let's see. No, I always wanted the Joe. Okay, he never had it. Somebody I know had that thing. But anyway, so I remember my dad bought me this for Christmas, this green Triceratops with red eyes, and it had a remote control. And I'll never forget being like 2 years old.
Was it like a corded remote control?
No, it was RC.
Oh wow.
Yes. And for 1977 back then, that was highfalutin. And this thing would walk across the floor, and then the eyes would light up, and it would go, and it used to scare me to death. And I can remember being scared of that thing. It was like 2 years old. Christmas, I was a little older than 2, and like Christmas of 77. And then really from there, Star Wars 100%. Those movies were out, I'm 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Right. So that was it. Star Wars definitely until He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and the like.
I think anyone from that is our age, it's almost going to be Star Wars no matter what.
That's my original case. Got my
See?
figures still inside.
I'm not the only one that kept my stuff.
Nope.
I didn't keep that.
I don't have all of it, but I got some of it.
I think anyone from our age, it's going to be Star Wars. It's so. There's never going to be anything like it ever again.
Nope. I agree.
And I'm not saying that to criticize any other movie or any other franchise that come out, but it was a different time. I try and tell the guys I skate with, I'm like, I don't care how great skateboarding is now and all the things. It's never gonna be what it was, because we watched this thing just take these huge leaps and bounds that we didn't think was possible. Now we're watching things, people do stuff I didn't think was possible, but to watch a whole industry change,
completely
we're never going to see it again. Not in that.
No, and really the movie industry has been built off the back of it now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's status, pro quo now, right? Or quid pro, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Anyway, so yeah, no, we won't. And it's an unfortunate place now, but at that time, there was nothing like it. I mean, there literally was nothing had been made like it. The effects, the way they did the models. I used to love watching those specials they do on like ABC or NBC, where they would take cameras into the Lucasfilm or the ILM studios, and they'd show the people working on the models and sending them down the string with the explosions and stuff, and that how they filmed it. Do you remember watching those as a kid? They'd come on like, be a special for an hour, and it'd be like the making of Empire Strikes Back, or how did they do the creatures in Star Wars, and they'd show them, once a year, and it was just something that's and you could look them up on YouTube now. But I love the inner workings. I loved how they'd show how they made the creatures, or how they flew the snow speeder, the AT-ATs and stuff, and like, the ATSTs walking across Hoth, and all the stop motion and all that stuff they did with it. And I loved watching those specials, but there was nothing like it at that time, and it revolutionized everything. Why don't you go ahead and read that right there for Bobby?
Bobby Wolf says entertainment itself is not going to be what it is, because everyone lost imagination. No one can make up a new character. We're just recycling everything. See, I disagree with that.
I agree somewhat with that.
I mean, yeah. There is a lot of that.
It's sequels and reboots and stuff now, at least when it comes to the entertainment sector.
Yeah, but when someone does make something new, nobody wants it.
Yes, and that's why there's a lot of risk involved, and companies are very averse to risk. And if you think about the risk that was involved with Star Wars, George Lucas put up his own money.
Yeah, he took it all.
I mean, literally put up his own money, and even did so again with like Empire Strikes Back. He had more support, but like he had to put up his own money. And when you're that kind of pressure, if you fail, that's it.
But right? When you're going to see stuff like that, that comes from the independent. You can make a movie now and put it on YouTube yourself.
Yes, and I wish there was more of it.
Yeah, sure, it's going to be Star Wars quality.
Right.
But Star Wars I can still watch Star Wars today, and you're like, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
So when people start doing that, that's when you're going to get, because there's nothing for them to lose. It's my own. But at the same time, you go to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers says, I want another Batman. And you're like, I have this great idea. And they're like, we want another Batman. And they're going to pay you $4 million to do it. What are you going to do?
Well, they're going to tell you what to do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're going to do whatever they want you to do, right? And even some of the, like, for just to give you an example, just yesterday, I watched a video on a channel called Star Wars Theory, and he is the biggest Star Wars channel on YouTube. All right,
Mike Zero, sorry.
Well, I can tell you, he's way bigger. But in Mike Zero's head, I'm with you. But yeah, no, Star Wars Theory has like, almost 4 million subs. He has more subs than the official Star Wars channel.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had an interview with the original script doctor, the script writer that was going to do the Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was supposed to be a 3-movie trilogy. Yep. And he interviewed the guy and he told him his script. He told him the idea, and it gave me chills listening to it, because to see what Disney not only canceled with that guy and then took some of his ideas and made what they made, it's like it makes you wonder. And I can see why a lot of things don't get made now, because or the studio takes them and ruins them, because in their mind maybe they feel like it's safe, maybe whatever, maybe culturally times have changed in the last 20 years, whatever that means. And but my point is that yes, you're right. If somebody says, hey, we're going to give you this amount of money, we want you to direct it or write it, but here's what we want you to write. And so your personal connection kind of gets put to the side, and you really, at that point, you kind of have to do what they want you to do.
And it sucks. I mean,
it does. I agree.
But we got way off track. Shocker.
Hey, listen, I'm ADHD to the bone, baby. Off track is my middle name.
All right. So what was do you remember like the first love of toys? Was it Star Wars, or was it just Star Wars because it was Star Wars, or did you have something that was?
No. I mean, Star Wars for sure. And I had several. My cousin had several as well. I've said this, we were fortunate in households that we somehow were able to get as many toys and figures, vehicles and things that we did. It's just looking back on it. And so, we not only would we come back home and play what we called Big Joe's or Big Star Wars, which was us living the characters out, right?
Oh.
I'm Han Solo, or I'm Flint, you're, Major Blood or Scrap Iron, whatever. But obviously with the toys, and we spent a lot of time together growing up on weekends, especially. And so Star Wars in particular, although he was really young. I mean, he's 2 years younger than me. And when you're, let's say, 6 and someone's 4, like that's a pretty good difference. Yeah. 7 and 5, right? But really, G.I. Joe was really like that one. Now, I had He-Man and I had Transformers, in the same time frame. I had all the WWF guys, the rubber wrestlers, that they made with, and then the ring and all that stuff. But really, G.I. Joe was really that first one where I was cognizant enough to really make my own decisions and like go looking for figures and really, but Star Wars started it. But by 84, 85, I was head over heels in love with G.I. Joe.
And that's just that when G.I. Joe came out, that's when you're starting to make decisions for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say, oh, what you see. And now there's like this selection, and your parents are saying, well, what toy do you want? As you're sitting in Toys R Us. I know your son's in here. Toys R Us is a store that used to sell toys. They'd also have like these long video game aisles.
He got to go in Toys R Us's before they shut him down.
Does he remember it though?
I don't know if he does, but we went to the very last one that was still in Tennessee or still in the greater Nashville area. And we went right as they were having their huge clearance sale, and there was nothing left, like nothing that you wanted left.
Yeah, Toys R Us. Do you remember going through the video game aisle, and they didn't have the games. They had the thing that flipped up.
You flipped it up.
Yep.
Yeah,
you had the piece of paper, then you go up there and they get it for you.
They were locked in that little room, and you'd flip those things up and look at the back of the box, so to speak.
Yep.
Yes.
Nintendo would have a whole aisle, and then there'd be like a 5-foot section for Snake on the
other. Yeah, exactly. And then you still had like your little bitty Atari section, right?
A little bit of Atari.
Because we had Atari 2600, we had ColecoVision actually first, and then Atari 2600, then 5200, and Nintendo, Genesis, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the slips, Francis, yeah.
There is something special about when you want to buy something and you pull the slip and then you go up and there's something like you are empowered. You're like, this little piece of paper is getting me that bed over there.
I agree.
That couch.
Yes, no, I you know what? And I think that's something it's even lost. And I won't get way off track here, but I do feel that's something that is lost with shopping today because of the way we shop now. And I feel like that window shopping, that touch experience, that personal experience with shopping, with music, with anything, whatever you want to call it, is gone now. And you lose the person part of it, the intimate part of that. That was such an intimate feeling to flip through those covers at Toys R Us, looking at those games, and you knew the choice you made, you're going to have to live with it, right? It could be a crappy game.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Hey.
Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Woody 222 with the 1999 super chat. Thank you. This man was one of my first 11 subscribers, so real recognizes real, and you're okay too, Lawrence. I feel like that was a backhanded compliment, as you said, I'm okay, and then you farted on me. I probably have pink eye now, but hey, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm glad that I still have fans after everyone found out how I'm.
Oh man, you dirty man. Hey, at least look, pink eye, at least it's not brown eye, Lawrence. Okay. So let's oh my god. Yikes.
All right. So you said G.I. Joe was like your first love. Did you play with, did you have other toys?
I did. I had them all. I mean, Knight Rider. I had the car that you pushed the license plate on it. It spoke with the Michael Knight figure. I had Chuck Norris figures. I had Cops. I had He-Man, I had GoBots, I had Transformers, I mean, you name them all. Now I was not huge. I had Thundercats, Jesus, I had Snake Mountain, I had Grayskull. I mean, so I had all the vehicles. I had the Centurions, I had Mask, dude, like, and not just some of them, I had a lot of them. And that's why I say being so fortunate, and my mom, especially after my dad split, to get and have those many things. And my mom's not rich. It never has been. My dad neither. But they went out of their way for those things. Now I didn't get them all the time, but they were Christmas presents, birthday presents. But we'll get into that. But dude, I'm telling you, had them all. And I'd take them on vacation, play with them in the back seat. Take my comic books with me, reenact the comic book scenes, like you name it, dude. But I had a lot of toys, man. Crazy.
Fans blow with parts that you don't want. Oh my goodness. All right, so you don't have a built-in play friend at home,
right?
But you do have one.
I do, and did. Not at home, and even my friends that lived on my block, we were more into sports and playing football in the front yard and stuff like that. Nintendo, and whatnot. But Darren, 3-star draw, which people know him as down South 77. So he lived about 15 minutes from where I grew up, and it was like being in the country. That area has now grown considerably in Nashville. It's out of control. You want to read that, or you?
No, I'm
okay. I just want to make sure. And so growing up, it was a hop, skip, and a jump away, but it seemed like I was in another world out there. He grew up. There was a major creek that ran about 40 yards behind his back porch. And and I would go out there and I'd take all my Joes or some of the ones I wanted to take, Transformers, whatever. And he was into the same toys. And so many, many, many weekends, I spent the night out there for 1 or 2 nights, maybe during spring break or during Christmas break. We'd call each other Christmas morning. What did you get? What did you get? What did you get? And then Christmases we spent out there at initially at my grandparents, because they built a house right across the field from.
How is he related?
So he's my first cousin
On
my mom's
Okay.
side. Okay, and he had an older brother, John. So John, my first cousin, he's the older one, the first one, but John was considerably older than I was. And so we were two different worlds, right? John grew up in the 70s. I grew up in the 80s, and so John and I became like, good, knew each other much better as I got older, and we maybe get into that too. But as kids, 3-Star was really it. Like when I went out there, man, Pains, what's up?
Stopping in to say hi. We'll have to check this out later. Caress the like, y'all.
Yeah, hit that like button for sure.
Caress. I had to make sure. Like, am I reading this right? I don't
rub it gently.
Too inappropriate.
But yeah, no, 3-Star. He was definitely it, and I loved going out there, man. Like, playing in that creek. We'd walk a mile one way, we'd walk a mile the other. We had BB guns, we hunted snakes. We'd each have a machete on our belt. We'd have a CO2 Uzi or a pump action shotgun BB gun. And like I said, I'm not kidding, man. Like, we hunted snakes. It'd be chest high water in some spaces. It'd be ankle deep water. You'd come out with leeches on you, but we'd also take the whale down there. We'd take other boats. We would take our Joes, sans weapons, though, because you couldn't lose them weapons now. You know what I mean?
Well, how far away did he live?
About 15 minutes. But it felt like you were 2 hours away, because literally once you hit that county line, dude, it went from city, which Nashville wasn't even like, big city, but city to literally everybody had acres upon acres upon acres of property.
But as a kid, 15 minutes it's an eternity.
Feels like it, right? You get in that back seat, you're riding out there, and you're thinking, golly, this is taking forever. But in reality, knowing that drive then,
when you drive like 4 or 5 hours per day, you're like,
right. No kidding.
God, why can't I have that everywhere I go?
But I think really just the ability to be able to go out there and get away from my cul-de-sac at the bottom of my street and go run in the woods or in the weeds, ride go-karts. My uncle would bush hog a field for us, and then he would make a dirt track, and he would weld go-kart frames and and we go out there riding go-karts, fishing, hunting snakes, playing with G.I. Joes. I mean, it was really awesome. And he was my play partner like that for years. Like that, he was it. I mean, just really mainly the only one as far as it came to toys in particular.
So G.I. Joe, like, for him too, was the main thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, hands down.
Now, did you have any other family, other friends that you guys would play with, or was it mostly like you two when you guys would get together?
It was me and him, especially because usually it was me going out there. Now, he would come over and spend the night at my house and get out, play some football with us and stuff like that. But most of the time it was me going out there rather than the other way around. And he might be embarrassed by this, but I don't care because it's funny now looking back. But he would get over here sometimes, especially when he's younger, and then he'd start crying, and his mom would have to come pick him up and take him home.
He did the same thing at Joe Fest, and we had like.
Listen, I do remember as a kid,
though, not coming to get you.
Yeah,
you stay here the whole weekend, right?
his mom would come over and be, 11 o'clock at night, or probably in my mind, it felt like later. It was probably only like 9. But that was when he was really younger, But yeah, it'd get to the time where it was time to lay down, and he'd start pitching a fit, and she'd come get him.
Now, if you are going to embarrass him, I'm not gonna inquire that he gives a super chat to read it, but he says, "I knew this was coming as soon as you said spending the night."
I actually, to be quite honest with you, it just really popped in my head as I'm reminiscing. It literally just popped in my head. It was like, oh yeah, he used to pitch a fit when it was bedtime, boy. I mean, he would my mom was at her wit's end, and she'd call up my Aunt Sherry, and she'd drive all the way over here, and she'd pick him up and take him home.
Now, is that her sister?
Yes. Okay. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's her only sister, her older sister.
So she could basically say anything she wanted.
Yeah.
Pick up your crybaby son. I'm not dealing with this.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're sisters. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah, she's a little bit older than my mom, just a couple, 3 years or so, 4 years, if I remember right. But yeah, so she'd come over and pick him up. But I used to remember that because it used to kind of piss me off because I wanted to get up the next day and play. And also he didn't come over to my house that often. So it's like, okay, you're in my domain now. You're in my dojo, right? Like, let's get outside. And, I don't know if I can say it now, but we used to play a game called Smear the Blank. Rhymes with weir. And and that was a game where you threw a football up in the air, and whoever caught it, then everybody else would run around and try to tackle them. And then once they got tackled, you had to throw it up in the air, and whoever caught it, that person would run around and everybody would pummel them. And we used to play it all the time. And I don't think he liked playing that game because he wasn't as fast as the rest of us, I think. And so, we probably used to pummel him pretty good. But he also was a little younger than we were too, so it's not quite fair.
The other thing about that is when you don't cry and you spend the night at someone's at that age, you're like, well, I don't do it. Why are you doing it? Like, you should be doing that. And Darren says, I was fat and slow, and I always got smeared.
It's true. It is true. But yeah, no. Listen, looking back on it now, I'm sure I probably did.
Poor Darren's getting bullied here.
No, what's great about it is, Lawrence, is like looking back on it and looking at how you grew up and the things you used to do and stuff like that, games you played and whatever. And you look at kids now, it's like that really was about kind of that last era of getting knocked around. And
right now, Darren is going through and giving me a thumbs down on every single video I've ever done.
Well, he should be giving me a thumbs down, not
like
you.
1,000 of them. Yeah, but I had you on.
You just asked the question. I'm the one that volunteered the information. Don't kill the messenger, right?
He's like, oh, I did that G.I. Joe video too, but thumbs down to you.
No, I will tell you, I have a lot of great memories from back then, and sometimes on our show
let's not try and cover it up.
No. I told you I'm an open book. If for anybody out there in the chat right now, just know this: I am an open book. I'm not scared. I don't care. I will say anything. I'm not kidding. I'm also a respectful person, and I'm self-aware, and I'm aware of my surroundings, all that stuff. But yeah, like no. Listen, life's too short, man. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you tell all them stories. I encourage everybody to tell all them stories, man. Tell them all. Have fun with it. That's all you can do.
So, did you come to a point where you got out of
absolutely
playing?
About the same time everybody else did. It's when I started. It's when I noticed that I started. Little chubby started happening, and little chubby started happening, and I started noticing them big booty girls, and almost about high school time. And it was like, I ain't got time to go get Battle Armor Cobra Commander out of the toy box. I gotta be on the hunt. I gotta be on the prowl. Yeah, I mean, seriously though, yeah, like most people, you get to a certain age, and for me, and we talk about it, he and I, 3-star on our show sometimes, but also I've mentioned it on streams as well. For me, it was really starting in roughly about late 88 into 89. I started high school in fall of 89. And I was doing drumline and marching band. I was playing my drum set all the time. I was, meeting girls. I'm in high school now. And
how is being in marching band more mature than playing with toys? Like, how is that cooler? Like, how is that cooler? And all that.
Okay. I'm not saying, because band kids are weird. Okay. The band nerd thing is true.
We all saw American Pie. We know.
Yes. And so, yes, band kids are weird. I will say that. I agree. However, it's for me, once I started seriously learning how to play drums at about 12-ish, 11-ish. Yeah, exactly.
Hot girls love cymbals.
They do love drummers, though, especially on stage when they're swinging their hair around.
Hot girls love anyone on stage.
Yes, they do. And that's that's a lot of the reason why I started playing drum sets. Seriously.
They don't love skateboarders. Can you tricks down like 7 or 8 steps?
Yeah, nah. Well,
I've never had a girl run up and be like, that handrail trick you just did was amazing.
Gosh, can you ollie like that again? That was awesome. Yeah, no.
It was so high. That pop you had was amazing.
I mean, I'm sure Tony Hawk probably got his fair share, but that's only after they made a video game.
Tony Hawk has been married 3 times, and every wife looks the exact same. A short blonde.
Oh yeah.
Why do you keep getting divorced? Like,
he has a type.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, no, but I did, like most people. I think
more lies being spread about.
Yeah, right. I want to see some video though. So the aging out part, yes. That was probably about the same time most people do, right? And for me, and I say fortunately, but also it was a sign of the times. I'm not into the sci-fi G.I. Joe stuff. I'm not into the giant guns that you can press a button and shoot missiles off their back. I'm not into that. I hate that shit. I like the classic military. Give me the camo.
I don't need classic military, but I'm with you on the whole sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
I saw someone in, I think, G.I. Joe community on Facebook. They asked the question. They were like, would you guys like to see them do the big guns that shot missiles? And every single person was like, nope.
Hey, heavy duty is about all I want to go with that, to be honest with you.
It looks good, but I
love the figure. I don't care about that.
It looks good. I've never cared for the character.
Yeah. No, me neither. But point being is that was about the time I aged out, was in about 89, and that's when you start to see a lot of that wacky stuff coming.
So did you find like during middle school where you're not like really letting people know you play with toys, but in actuality you still are behind the scenes?
Yes.
And then as an adult you realize like we were all playing with toys, just none of us wanted to admit it.
I think that's a right. It's like a common thing, right? It's a common thing that I think years later you kind of come upon, right? When you're that age and you're living through it and you're in the middle of it, of course you feel like you're the center of the world, right? And everybody's watching you and everybody's thinking about you and everybody's thinking that you're, and if you let on, you're still setting up your own battles, which I was doing, and nobody cared. But with that being said, you know as well as I do that those social circles and those things start to happen. And it's like, and so at the same token, yeah, maybe you don't want it getting out to a couple of the girls you might have a crush on that you still play with G.I. Joes. Now, I think now a lot of them probably think it's either A, weird, or B, cool, or both. A lot of the women I've talked to ask me when I talk about what I do, YouTube or shows I watch and stuff like that. and I tell them about toys and collecting. Most of the people I tell that to have a brother or a cousin or a friend or a relative of some kind or their son or something who collects toys, and that conversation comes up all the time at work. But yeah, back then, no, I was probably worried about it in 7th, 8th grade. But when I'd come home, yeah, man, like, 87, 88, I mean, I'm reading my comics. I'm setting up battles, I'm still doing that in my room and stuff. But Nintendo started taking over more and more of my life, to be quite honest with you, by then. More and more of my time, I guess.
All right, so high school, you get into band.
4 years of drumline and marching band.
All right, so
I loved it.
Did you get into sports or anything?
So, so when I was younger, yes, I played baseball, and I was actually pretty athletic, very coordinated. Always have been. I also, so from a coordination standpoint, I also did a lot of sketch art. So I was very serious about maybe doing comic books at one time as a career, being an artist as a career. But sports, being on my feet, being agile, being able to throw a ball very well, the motions of all those things came natural to me. And so I did play Little League Baseball, but when I was about 9 years old, about 8.5 or so, something 8.5 or 9 years old. I remember walking down the hallway in school, and for about a week, I was limping, and my knee, my left knee was killing me. It was like, man, what did I do to my knee? And finally, after about a week and a half of complaining to my mom, she took me to the doctor. And it sucked because it came on a day when we were taking a field trip to go to the Tennessee Performing Arts Center to see Hansel and Gretel as a play. And I was mad because I missed the play. And the doctor then, when we went, they took some x-rays, sent me to an orthopedist, and they found out that I had a hip disease. I had a hip dysplasia in my left hip. And the reason I'm telling you this is because initially I wanted to be a quarterback on a football team. I was growing at the right rate. I was very athletic as a kid. Could run, could really do, whatever. And so when they discovered that, they put me in crutches for 2 years, and I had a leg brace. I had a strap that went around my shoulder, and it went under my knee, and I kept my left leg off the ground at all times for 2 years.
Run, Forrest, run.
Well, so that was the next phase, because for 2 years I had
all
crutches.
I can think of.
Oh, now look, that movie wasn't out then, but if it was, I would have never heard the end of it. And I heard everything else when I went to school for those 2 years. But after 2 years, they found that it spread to the other hip, and they put me in leg braces and that spread my legs way apart. It was a metal belt with a metal circular joint over each hip and a metal rod with plastic things you had to Velcro around your thighs. And it spread my legs way far apart. And I had to walk for 2 more years almost like that, with my butt sticking out and my legs spread apart. And so for almost 4 years, I had those crutches and I had those leg braces. And that's why I mentioned to you earlier about pictures, and I'd had a couple of what they looked like. But you don't have to show them. But my point is
if
that
you have them, we can pull them up.
But because of sports, sports was my first love. Okay.
Right now, your son is like, shit. Do I need to worry?
So let's see here.
Hopefully you got your mom's DNA. Thank God, at least my son seems to have my DNA, my health. That, let's just say that.
So there's the picture. That's the picture of me with my leg braces on.
Oh my God.
And we're,
you know what? They kind of look like holsters. They kind of look like holsters.
I know, right? And I'm gonna tell you, my friends still played tackle football with me with those things on. You want to talk about like kids being brave, dude. Like, and I'll show you. Let's see. I'll stop that one, and then I'll bring up maybe one more of what those things look like from the front, just to give you an idea. This is me and my sister, and you see how all the Alabama stuff goes back. Some of my Christmas pictures, I'm in my Pittsburgh pajamas, but my Steelers pajamas. But here's one right here. This is me and my sister on a trip down to Alabama.
Oh my!
So that's what I wore those for 2 years, and that's after having crutches for 2 years and my left leg off the ground in a sling before that. And so they told me after I got out of these that you cannot play contact sports. As a matter of fact, if you exercise, you probably should not run because the impact and everything would not be good. So you need to stay skinny your whole life. Yeah, that's my son walking like a cowboy. You got that right.
You actually look like the Lone Ranger and Tonto figures of
Isn't
how
that
they
so-
work because
Yes.
their legs bowed out to go.
Yes.
They know how to make it work.
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
dude,
or-
it was rough. Now, I mean, I got called a lot of crap. Here,
No, kids were mean to you about that.
I know, right? And, if the Forest, if that movie had come out, it might have been, taken eased it a little better. But
Yeah, that would have made it better.
But yeah, no, it was pretty rough for a while. But I tried to get away with as much as I could. My mom would call a skate rink when I was little, and she'd say, "Hey, my son, he has crutches and he can't skate, but he wants to hang out with his friends. And then they, can he get in for free?" And then she'd drive me down there and drop me off, and then we'd go throw my crutches under a bunch of coats, and I'd go get skates, and I'd skate around the skate rink.
Oh my God.
But yeah, as far as sports though, sports was over. And then I got into music. Now, before I get into that, I will say the day I got my braces off, they took me to the orthopedist. My mom took me to the orthopedic doctor, and he said, "You know what? After these few years, neither one of those treatments did any good. You're going to have both of your hips replaced at some point in your life. They're going to break down, and we don't know when that's going to be. But it's going to happen. You can plan on that. It's going to happen one day." And they said, "But we're going to go ahead and get you out of these things because there's just, there's no point in continuing. You're still growing." And so my mom, because I was out of school that day, and my mom said, "Well, what do you want to do? And what would you like to do today?" And would you guess who it was that I went and got out of school that day?
Probably your cousin, because you wanted to smear someone again. You're like,
it was my cousin. I went, yeah, no, right? I at least wanted to just run free, Forrest.
I need to go smash someone. And I know he's a fat, slow guy.
Yeah. At that time, he was getting a little bigger by then. But still fat, still slow. No, but yeah, I did. That's what we did. We went and got my cousin excused out of class. And so we could hang out the day I got my braces off. But that's what I wanted to do. So it's pretty cool. So we drove all the way out to his part of the city or town and got him out of school and went and hung out, and I can't remember exactly what we did. Might have went to get a couple of G.I. Joes for all I know. But anyway, so that was 4 years of my life as a youngster. And then them telling me you can't play contact sports. So I couldn't play baseball, which I was, pretty good pitcher, pretty good shortstop, and I couldn't play football was the killer because I really dreamt of being an NFL quarterback, and of course that probably would not have happened, but you know what I mean, like you don't even get a chance to try.
Remember this, I tell all the guys like that I skate with, or when I was skating again, I have no video footage of what I used to do and how good I was.
Right.
So you have no idea if I'm lying. I mean, I'm pretty good, right? So I had more talent when I was younger. I could tell you anything. And since we didn't have a camera on everything, so you just need to tell everyone, like, hey, I was on the precipice.
Right. That's true.
I had Bo Schembachler from Michigan down here looking at me. A matter of fact, he probably still would have because they only threw it like 4 times a game anyway.
That's true.
So you're still gonna play. Like, they're gonna build an offensive line around you. You don't need to worry.
Back in those days, you are correct. But
All
yeah,
right.
man, that's kind of how it rolled back then. So especially with sports. So my sports dreams were dashed.
All right. So you do band. What else did you get into in high school? Like, what kind of music did you actually? Like, band is different than music you
Oh,
actually.
100%. So when I started being serious about drums, was and commercial art as well, because I was sketching a lot. I took art 1 and commercial art in high school, and was really loved it. But the more I focused on drums, the more that I had rehearsal at home, practicing on my drum set after being in school band and then competitions and all that kind of stuff in high school. And drumline, it's very serious, very competitive high school, very serious drumline. Yentl. Oh, I hadn't heard that in a long time. But when I started being serious about drums, I met a guy named Stevie D in 8th grade, and he is my best friend to this day. And he was a huge Elvis fan, big Elvis fan. He had big chops. We're talking about the first time I seen this kid. I'm across the backyard at another guy I went to high school's house, or junior high, and he had a drum set too. And I remember I was way better than Brian was. I could smoke Brian any day of the week, and he had a better drum set than I had. So I'd love going over there and playing his drums. And I'll never forget the day Stevie D walked in. Here comes this 15-year-old kid with a cigarette in his mouth, aviator shades on, a pompadour with Elvis-sized lamb chop sideburns, snakeskin cowboy boots and jeans, and a saxophone case, and a button-down black shirt. And I thought it was like the Blues Brothers all over again or something. I met this dude, and I was like, this is a cool son of a bitch. And so we started playing together.
You and I have 2 different versions of cool.
Hey man, you got to understand, like, you looking at thinking about musicians and looking at like I said, the Blues Brothers, and like, and so and it, and when you're that age, it's like, I mean, at that time, people that smoked or whatever, it was just kind of like, still part of it was a normal thing. You used to have Camel billboards and Marlboro billboards and stuff up. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway, so we started playing music together, and he was a big Elvis fan, and that rubbed off on me. And I loved Elvis because I grew up on Elvis. My mother loved Elvis, still does. A lot of Motown, stuff like that. And so when I started really learning drums, playing drums, I used to put on about 5 different bands. I'd put on a lot of Elvis live from the 70s because his drummer and his band from 70 to 77 was amazing and very tasteful. A lot of really fun stuff to play. I played and fell in love with Led Zeppelin, especially Led Zeppelin. Van Halen, David Lee Roth Van Halen. Leonard Skinner, big time Leonard Skinner fan. And then after that, it was really more of just a mix of your classic rock, your Doobies, your Eagles, your Foreigner, that's what I grew up on. And those were good drum parts. So I really sank my teeth into that kind of music. Okay. And still a fan today, but I've branched out since then to many more styles of music since then.
Like, again, I'm a kind of a music snob. I like punk music. I like hardcore punk. I like some metal. I like 80s. I like some 70s and 60s Motown. But I think if you're a musician, I don't care what genre you love, you really need to listen and like all kinds. Because, when I would hang out with my punk friends that were musicians, the way they heard music compared to the way I heard it was way different.
It is definitely.
And I'm like, I don't know, like, that sounds the exact same to me. No, I'm like, all right, well, I'm just telling you, it sounds the same.
I agree, and there's different terminology that you use when you talk about it. There's, I feel it differently. It doesn't mean it doesn't move you the same way, but the way I hear drum parts, the way I hear bass guitar parts and lead vocal and vocal parts and harmonies and guitar solos and stuff. Yes, I hear the same notes that you do, but I analyze them differently in my brain and I feel them differently. Like
if you and I sat down and watched a skate video, the way that I see it and the way you see it are going to be two different things.
I agree.
You're going to be like, oh my God, that was amazing. And I'd be like, that is the sloppiest thing. That was super sketch. Or
it makes sense. Totally makes sense.
You can see something's hard, but you don't grasp how hard it was to actually do.
Right.
So,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It's very similar. And you're right. It kind of does come down to that, because a lot of people would see a guitar solo and the motions the guitar player's making, and he's all animated, and you'd think, oh my God. And that is just and in reality, he's doing something that they teach, 12-year-olds in guitar lessons, right? He's just sped it up, right? Yeah. Like it's, but, or vice versa, something that, is very sloppy. You might think it's the greatest solo or greatest drum part out there, exactly. Like I totally get that. And it's very true too. It's very true.
Yeah. Because I mean, again, when you might not be a professional, but you're an expert at it. You know what I mean? Like, you can be an expert at something, not be a professional. I would say I'm an expert at understanding skateboarding.
You're passionate about it too.
Yeah.
And when you're passionate about it, like, you go all in, right? Like, you get the magazines, you look at the VHS, tapes that teach you how to do the stuff. You search for the albums that the people you like, or you search for the whatever that the people you like. What are their influences? Who did they learn from? Right? Like, all that kind of stuff, right? You dive real deep into it. And that's exactly, I went deep diving, and you probably did the same thing with skateboarding.
Oh, dude. I tell my buddy, like, when he would send me something now, and I mean, we're almost, well, he's in his 50s. I'm all headed there. When I look at something and I can't figure out what they did, it's one thing that I understand how it actually, but to actually watch a trick and be like, I don't understand what they just did. Like, I have to slow that down. I have to watch it 5 or 6 times. And it's like, was it this? And like, how, like, that's when, and I'm assuming it's the same way with music. There's got to be something that you hear and you're like, I don't even understand how they played that.
Absolutely.
Like,
and
it does not make sense.
Well, and that's where you have this great little thing called tablature. See, with music, you can actually read it, and then you can mimic it. John Bonham, Mendoza, my favorite drummer, Led Zeppelin, John Bonham, hands down. He's who I emulated, and if you listen to me play today and I played rock beats, you'd probably be like, yeah, okay, I hear it. But with music, you have tablature. So you can actually find the written part and you can read it, and then you can play it. So if you can read music, you can play it. There he is. There's Mython. What's up, man?
Mython the Python jumping in. Pop, what's up, man? Checking in at work. We'll have to come back for the replay. Hope everyone impacted by the hurricane is safe. Hey, I'm good too, Mython. Nice to see you too.
Oh yeah, by the way. Well, I told you before we went on, I was expecting a bunch of rain, and it may very well be. And I said, hey, if I get kicked off, if the power goes out, I'll jump back on with my phone. But so far, so good. I don't even hear anything outside, actually. So yeah, it's lucky. Hopefully it doesn't.
It's always funny when someone like jumps in on this and says hi to. And I understand why, because you're here because, but it's like, you totally like, don't say that. It's like, hey, I'm here also. Like, don't your little ego.
Man, oh man, no, look, I get it. But I will say though, as far as like, let's just say comparing. There we go, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
I'll let you read that one.
Yes. Tony's Figs, Club Tarkin in the motherfucking house. Absolutely. I told Tony the other night, I said, I want to see you next year dancing by that pool at Club Tarkin. Gonna be ready. Baby. Yeah. Hopefully there's no families hanging out.
The family. You weren't bad.
Nah.
Was it you? Tony can't not swear.
Tony, yes, a couple times just because I do cuss like a sailor. I'm not gonna lie, and it
Tony
just kind of
Tony didn't even try.
You get 7 guys together or whatever it was, 7, 8 guys, whatever, you get us together like that, cutting up, and most of us have probably done had a drink or two,
I think it was 6 guys and Travis Moody.
Oh, I feel bad for him. No, I'm kidding. Travis, I love you.
Don't worry, he'll never see this.
I still feel bad I wasn't able to get him good audio from their show or their thing, but I couldn't. The audio sucked. Or y'all, you were there too. Of course you were.
Everyone heard me.
Actually, yeah, it's kind of weird how that worked out. But yeah, man, no, I'm with you though. As far as the comparable things, as far as what you're passionate about, what you're learning, and so for me, like drumming, I was super passionate. It was really, really, really at that point. I knew when I played a 8th grade end of year little talent show with my best friend Steve on sax, our other friend Patrick on guitar, and me on drums, and we played the Peter Gunn theme. Do you know the Peter Gunn theme?
Nope. Should
I? The Spy Hunter. I
mean, as soon as you like.
Yeah, but we played that for like our classmates, and it was so lame. But that was the first time we played together. And then after that, going into high school, we started rehearsing in my mom's downstairs where my drum set was, and we got another guitar player and a bass player. We got backup singers. And we started doing shows at my high school. They would pay $1 to see us play during the school day. In the spring one year, we did a talent show every year. Multiple shows. We were the entertainment for various events they had at the high school. And we're like a Southern rock band as teenagers in high school. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And so I knew then, like, I really want to do this. And I was extremely passionate about it at that point. So much so that I really, really slacked on my studies and really slacked as a student. I graduated with a D-. I had to make a 97 on my final exam that I took in my high school career and to graduate. And I made 104, and it was a keyboarding class, learning how to type on a computer keyboard.
Oof, man.
Yeah, I was a terrible student. And I stress to my son all the time, if he's still in here, maybe now he's got school tomorrow, to not do that, because I do believe that it was something I regret very much so.
My son's in college and he is struggling. And there's many reasons but he doesn't understand time management, and we try to explain it to him. And maybe your son will listen to me because he probably won't listen to you. We do know stuff. Like, we've experienced it. Even though it may not be your, maybe it's not your career path, we're able to take life and my son doesn't understand that. And he's struggling big time. And he's a really smart kid. Like, yeah. He graduated because he's smart. And what I mean by that, it's like towards the end, he wouldn't do what he was supposed to. Like, he wouldn't do homework, so he'd get marked down, but then he'd get A's and B's.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you just did the homework, you would have got scholarships and stuff. And it sucks.
I think too, and I guess relating it later in life, I've earned it in other ways, but I think too, it's almost the same thing with a job. It's like if your boss sees you doing the work, they give you the benefit of the doubt. If the teacher sees you at least turning the work in, trying, right? Just trying, at least putting the effort forward, they'll grade you on that curve. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt, right? Like they'll at least they know you're trying. When you just don't try, like you just don't, then at that point, like, you're not helping yourself. So they can only help you so much. And it's same thing with a job, man. Like, you can't ask for that extra day off or that maybe couple extra days of vacation or PT if you don't go in and bust your ass every day, if you don't go in and do a good job, right, and regardless of what you think about the job, that's how I equate it in some ways. And so for my son, it's taken a couple years to get there. First couple years were a little rough, but he's been doing much better this year, his junior year. And when you talk about those scholarships and stuff, right, Woody, same kind of deal, but not going to want to go to college.
And I don't think, again, you don't have to go to school. You don't have to go to college.
I agree.
You have to have, if you decide you're not going to go to college, you need to have the idea of what you're going to do. Are you going to go to a trade school? Are you going to get in a factory? Like, if you're going to get in a factory and you're like, I'm going to work on the assembly line. Again, I'm from Michigan, so there's lots of assembly line stuff.
Yeah.
You don't get that now. My dad, when I graduated, he said, I can probably get you in, on the assembly line. I don't want you doing it because it's shitty work. It pays well. And I was like, I don't want to do that anyway. He was like, okay, good.
Right.
Because it's not the same as it was, when I was graduating.
I mean, my dad tried to get me on, like, down at the post office years ago, but then I would hear him talk shit about it all the time. And my sister talked shit about it all the time. And it's like, well, you want me to come down there and work, and you say it's good benefits and they pay good and you can have all the overtime you want, and you bid for maybe what shift you want or what job you want down there and all that kind of stuff. But then every time I talk to you, you talk about how horrible it is and the people that work there, how horrible, and they don't have any work ethic and they don't do anything. And it's just like, and I agree with that. Joe, as far as school can be boring for intelligent kids, I agree. As far as staying engaged, I think there's even harder these days to be engaged.
It can, but my youngest is
pretty
by far the smartest. I mean, it's not even close. It's just, and she is taking every hard class. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, don't ask me for help. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to. I'm like, not that I wouldn't help you.
Right.
But I can't.
Right. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel a lot of times. And
it's like that whole, like, you can't or you won't. It's you won't or you can't. No, I can't. Right.
Yeah. No, there's no. I mean, look, I would love to.
Is way smarter than me. All right.
Yeah.
I know many of you are going, oh, that's hard, but
look, but everybody also knows what you mean. And it's like, yes, I'm the same way. I will ask about how school's going and all that kind of stuff, but I couldn't actually help. Man, Gun Bunny, hey, what's happening, Gun Bunny Customs? I couldn't if I wanted to. And so the only thing I can do is try to coach from the sidelines. I can, try to do it in a positive way. I've probably only truthfully, I say yelled at my son probably one time, I think. Now, he may be in the chat. I know he's still here. He may remember different, but I think there's only been really one time that I did. And it was, but our relationship's never been that way. And it's never been about that. And I've never had to. Now, have there been disappointment? Has there been disappointment in, like, not doing homework? The same old stuff, right? We just talked about it. Yes, absolutely. And I try to express that disappointment, but I've never been the type of person that's gonna just get angry like that and go off, because I know I didn't respond well when that happened. Right. And it didn't inspire me. It didn't make me want to do anything more or better. And so for me, I just have never took that approach. Yeah, exactly, son. Yeah. It's not like I don't like homework. Homework doesn't like me. Yeah. Story of my life, not yours. Hopefully it won't be yours, but yeah, no. But it's still, yes, it is disappointing. And as a father, I've not had my son full time. I'm every other weekend dad and have been since he was probably about 2 years old. It's not what I wanted, but it's what happened, and it is life, right? I grew up that way from about 9 on. It was very normal in my day, right? In your day, to be a latchkey kid, right? To have a house key and get the bus drop you off, and you run down the street and go watch G.I. Joe and Transformer cartoons, and then do your homework, or not, like me. And spend a lot of time by yourself, left to your own devices, But the one thing I've tried to do that wasn't really happened for me is that I make sure that I'm available and I'm there for my son. And I've told him this before, so it's not like me sitting here, he's in the chat, all that kind of stuff. I tell anybody this at work. I've told many people, when I grew up, every other weekend for me was not fun. The most fun part is there was some guilt there, and they would take me to Toys R Us and they would buy me a new toy, so I would be happy. But, every other weekend, my dad worked or he slept. That was it. Some Legend series. And so once my sister got old enough to not have to go over there every other weekend with me, then it was just me going to hang out with my drunkle or my grandmother, taking me to the Grand Ole Opry on a Friday night because I had to go with her to go work because my dad went to work, and like being alone or whatever. So my dad he wasn't not very involved growing up with anything that I did. And so when I split up from my ex, I made it a point that like, I'm going to work a job. If I have to continue to bartend, it has to be flexible. And I'm going to make sure I am off every other weekend and that I'm available for every competition, every production, every other weekend. There's no other focus, nothing except for my son when it's our time. And I've even purposefully chosen not to date for years because I don't want anything else getting in the way of my relationship with my son. And I find that's extremely important. And it's paid off. I know, right? Yeah, whatever, Todd. Don't worry about it. But my point is like growing up that way and being that latchkey kid and having that back and forth on the week, every other weekend shit, all that kind of stuff, obviously is still prevalent today, right? But to me as a father, I want to be present, right? Present as much as I could. And so it's a lot of the reason why I still bartend to this day, so that it's flexible. I can take off. I can, do what I need to do to always be available every time, no matter what. And I have hardly missed anything for years. Hardly a single thing. Great. Love it.
Okay. So obviously when you graduated with your D-,
oh yeah,
the University of Michigan was not knocking down your door to play quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Your legs bowed out, like you just got railed the night before, and you had a D-, so you weren't getting into Michigan. Ohio State may have still taken you.
Alabama wouldn't have taken me. I couldn't have run the wing T or whatever they were running at that time.
So what did you do after you graduated?
So I was already playing in bars when I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
So I would play a Wednesday night in Printer's Alley, which is a few blocks off of Broadway, at 17 years old on a Wednesday night. And then I'd go to school Thursday day sometime around 10 o'clock. And I was playing on Broadway, playing the cover bar circuit, so to speak, in Nashville. So when I graduated, I was already playing with a band. My aunt took me to audition for one of her favorite cover bands she used to love to go see. It was a band called the Long Shot Band, and they were a Southern rock band through and through. These guys were in their 40s, mid to late 40s. One of them, the bass player, was like 38, and I was 17, fresh-faced, and they asked me to audition to take over for their drummer. And I don't know, Clint, if I'm gonna talk to Vince McMahon doc on Friday. That would be tomorrow, and I probably won't have enough time. I have to watch Agatha tonight when I'm done and start on a video. So I don't know if we'll talk about it Friday, but maybe Tuesday. I'll let you know.
I think I'm 3 episodes into it.
Okay. How long's each episode?
About an hour, I think.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna
think
take
it's
me a
only
little bit.
6 episodes, and they have like 110 hours. I don't know how.
Holy crap! Yeah, it's gonna take me might take me a little more than Tuesday. We'll see.
So
I'll
far, I
post
have
it.
not heard anything that I didn't know yet.
Okay, I mean,
I
and
haven't heard anything that I didn't know.
for people mildly familiar with Vince McMahon, I'd say you probably aren't going to hear a lot you don't maybe haven't, that you don't know.
I'm still hearing a lot of things where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, because they went through the steroid trial, and
Right
now they're in the they got to in the screw job.
Oh, Brett Hitman Hart.
Brett and Sean.
Yeah. And so yeah, I don't know. It might take me a little longer to get to that.
But if you haven't watched, it's him talking. He's doing the documentary.
That's interesting.
A lot of these are his words. Now, I don't know how it ends because they said at the end, like right at the beginning, they tell you like this, like during this whole documentary thing was when the allegations came down.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully, if they get into that while it, you know what I mean.
Legendary. I can't wait.
100%. You kidding me? That's one of my favorite pastimes.
And Radnam has jumped in. I have to say this. We all know the allegations. Why didn't he get with Johnny Depp's ex-wife? Because it sounds like it would have been a perfect match.
Man, oh man.
And she's hot.
She's
still hot. I don't care how crazy she is. I still beg her.
I want to tell you real quick.
Amber Heard, that's her name.
I followed and watched streams every single day of that trial. I literally watched a bunch of lawyers get on a stream every day, and I kept up with that trial. I was so enthralled with that Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. People got tired of me talking
Jason
about
Momoa's. I know I'm trying. Jason Momoa doing his thing. It's like,
dude. Oh my god.
All right, let's get to. All right,
we went off the rails. Anyway, so no, look, I knew I wanted to play music. I got with a cover band. They were much older than me, but I started making money, and started living the nightlife. I was out all night. I'm getting hit on by waitresses twice my age, literally. And going home with some of them. Graduated high school. My mom said, as long as you graduate, I know you're not going to college. As long as you graduate, you can do whatever you want to do. Or whatever. I'm like, okay. So I graduated, and then I literally played music full time. I would have jobs here and there. I'd work a little here, a little there. I'd wait tables for some place downtown, or work for a piping company, helping them install gas pipes.
Sounds like you were pipe fitting.
Man, I was doing some serious pipe fitting back in the day. But I love playing.
No, he wasn't. No.
Yeah, no.
What
are you talking about? No. Yeah. But I mean, it was, and I'm
still convinced my kids only think that I dated their mother. Like that I've never dated anyone else.
I mean, my son doesn't know of anyone else. He doesn't remember the girlfriend I had after his mom, nor before. He never even met anybody, so he doesn't really know anybody.
Well, I hope he doesn't remember the girlfriend before you dated his mom.
Well, no, I'm saying, look, how sometimes those people come around and they go, oh, this is your son, and then you're like, yeah, this is Jamie, and I dated Jamie for 3 or 4 years, whatever. Yeah. Just how that happens, but ultimately no, and he really doesn't remember me and his mom being together either, which I'm okay with, just because it's better that way. I guess. But no, I played music. I played music for several years as my main gig, and kind of bounced around. That was really what I did and what I wanted to do, until I got burnt out.
Okay, so what? I still remember running into a door room.
I sent a video of my son to America's Funniest Home Videos. It is on my YouTube channel, but I think it's private. My ex, while I was at work, was recording with her phone, and he was using a broom at about a year and a half, maybe over a year, and he's sweeping the floor. And then he hears this song come on from a cartoon in the living room, and he tries to run through a doorway with a broom side to side like this. And he literally takes him right off of his feet and right on his back. And I sent that video to America's Funniest Home Videos, and they actually played it.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, they did. And I thought it was good enough to be in the top 3. Evidently they did not. And so I got a t-shirt. I got a t-shirt for my efforts. But yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. I probably could make it private or public by now, but it is on my YouTube channel. And it's only about a minute long, but really the best part is the last probably 10 to 12 seconds. And you can hear my ex going, he starts getting wild with the broom, and then she's like, honey, be careful. And all of a sudden he starts running, going, ah, and then he hits that doorway, and it just stops him dead in his tracks, and his feet come up, and he just goes right on his back, and she's running over him with the camera, and it looks like he's crying, but he actually started laughing after it happened, but you don't see that part. She cuts it off right as he's like, ah. But yeah, they played it on America's Funniest Home Video. It's pretty cool. And I have searched and searched and searched to see if I could find that recording of it, like with the commentary and everything. Yeah. But I can't find that episode. And you can look at a lot of freaking episodes of that show.
I would imagine.
But I can't find it. I've tried. But that's what he's talking about. I'll put it public for you guys if you want to check it out. It's called "Sweep Me Off My Feet" is the title of the video, and it's it's on my YouTube channel. I'll make it public right now. You guys can check it out.
So, okay, so you played music for a few years.
Yes,
and you got burnt out.
I did get burnt out. I got tired of slinging my drums in my car and really never playing anywhere, hooking up with a major artist or anything of that nature. I just felt like I was spinning my wheels. And so I sold my drums, sold my drum set, and took a couple few years off from just playing music, really. And I really focused. I know this sounds weird, but I really focused on bartending. I enjoyed bartending because I still felt like I was on stage. I still felt like I was the center of attention. I still felt like all eyes were on me, and I was able to entertain people in a similar way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, I was one of those bartenders. I got hired by TGI Fridays in 2000, and immediately I learned how to flip bottles around. And so I started tossing bottles and flipping bottles like Tom Cruise in the Cocktails movie. And I ended up doing like 27 competitions for TGI Fridays over a 10-year period of time or 12-year period of time. So it was fun because I was entertaining people. I would do costume changes. I would edit my music because each bartender would come out to compete, against each other. You could do your own music, and you could, wear your own costumes, and you could, do different stuff with your bottles and put glow sticks in them and all kinds of crazy shit. So I did a bunch of those bar competitions, flipping stuff all around. That's very true. That's very true. Definitely. So I felt right at home. And so I got really good. I felt like God put me here. As far as like my life path, other than obviously my son and having him, God made me really, there were 2 things in my life that I picked up really easily and got really, 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 really good at. And that's drums and bartending. Like, And it sounds stupid to say the second one in particular because it's like, you're a freaking bartender. Are you kidding me? You're like, come on. Like seriously. God, I used to hear that from girls too sometimes when I'd like try to hit on a girl and she'd be like, well, what do you do? And I'd be like, oh, I bartend. Talk to me when you get a real job. Seriously. Yeah, like, and I used to laugh because I'm like, a real job is when you make money, right? Like you make good money, and but I understood. But no.
It's different when you don't know what you're doing. If you've chosen like, hey, I'm gonna be a waitress, and they make good money, especially at high end places, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna be a waitress. I'm raising my kid. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But I think when people see you, where it's like, okay, well, you kind of been working here, and I saw you, like, when are you going to start doing something real? And I fully understand.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying.
But I understand where someone would come from as well, as far as that goes, right? Yeah. Like I'm not stupid. Like, I fully understand that. I guess the thing of it is like, yes, there are many other things I can do. Right. Maybe it's comfortability, being comfortable now. Maybe it's just knowing what I do inside and out and do it with my eyes closed. Or maybe it's where I'm at. It's a good place, great crowd, good bar, great atmosphere, really cool place. Closes early. I don't have to stay out until 2 or 3 in the morning and work.
10:30.
I get, we close at 9 o'clock during the week and 10 on the weekends. Wow. And I only work every other Saturday night.
I'm trying to think of a place. Where have I found a place like that before?
It's a barbecue joint in Nashville. It's a very popular barbecue.
There's another place that I was at. They closed at like 10:30. They're always packed too when they were closing. Where was that at? Oh yeah, Joe Fest.
That's right. It was the after Joe Fest that was the best. Yeah, that restaurant. Now,
that's so bad. Like, why are you closing at 10:30?
Dude, I cannot imagine a hotel bar with that many people kicking it, and all of a sudden they're doing last call like 10:30. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. It was really 10 o'clock. It was like 10 o'clock.
They stopped. Did they close at 10?
They did last call at like 10, and then they would, get the rest of the stuff out. But it was like, we end up in the lobby. Okay, well, you're going to push us out to the lobby? Okay, then we're just going to be hanging out in the lobby being loud and shit.
Well, they didn't care about that because they're just.
It is what it is, and it's a hotel bar.
Starbucks wasn't open.
Nah, dude.
They closed at like 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it's very odd, very very odd. And look, the bartender they had working in that hotel. Listen, most of your hotel bartenders are not the kind of bartenders who are hoofing it. Okay, like usually much more reserved. You don't get, you're usually not humping like that guy was having to. And that can be tough for somebody when you don't work that way on a regular basis. So I could tell he was sweating. He was sweating, man.
The guy with glasses?
Yeah, dude. He was like, oh my God. Like you could tell he was ready to go. He was so ready to go home at like 7 o'clock.
You could tell he didn't care because he knew that
no, he didn't care.
When we were gone, it was gonna be a whole nother group, and it wasn't gonna be a rowdy group like this.
I
just don't understand the whole 10:30. Like, there's still people in your hotel that want, room service and stuff. Like, what?
I agree, and so like where I work at, it's completely different because it's in a neighborhood. I mean, we're smack dab in a neighborhood, and it shuts down like at 9 o'clock. It's a ghost town.
He would not let us leave because he's like. He didn't want to deal with other people. So he's like totally missing out on tips, but he didn't care.
That's right. Yeah. It's like, you guys just stay here. Take these stools. Keep these stools.
I think the funniest thing that somebody said to me about that was when I can't think of his name. The guy that got Sarge to drink. Edward.
Holy crap.
Teflon.
Yes.
So they're like, it's not, because I'm like, how did you guys get him to stop? And they're like, Teflon stopped him and was like, hey, let me get you a drink. And then he sat down. And I was like, I can't believe he stayed there. And like, no. The biggest shocker was how Teflon got the drink that quick. Because anyone that walked over there to get anything was waiting. And they're like, Teflon walked there, came right back and had the drink. And it was like, how did you do it?
Like he went to make it himself because, man, I stood there. I stood there at that service bar forever trying to put in an order for like a burger or a drink, right? Like you literally, it took forever to just put your order in. So yeah, it's like he must have gone and just went ahead and said, hey, you mind if I jump back here and make this real quick?
Because he was in like, and we didn't know because like Darren said, we were stuck.
Yeah,
we went to get food to go back there before the whole before Sarge even sat down. And then we sat down, and then you guys kept coming in, and everyone was like, oh, Sarge is sitting at our table.
And I missed that whole thing because I was sitting at that table, that big, long table. And then finally I got up to go in and
were you sitting with us?
Initially, yes. And then when I left, the table filled up. I came out and he was sitting there.
I think Daredevil Dave was sitting next to him.
I think Dave was
Charlock
at that table too.
No, I'm talking about at the bar where he wouldn't let us.
Oh, yeah, at the bar, yes. But I was talking about when Sarge sat at the table. Initially, I was sitting at that big long table, and then I got up to go in to try to get something. And when I came back, not only was my seat gone, but Sarge is sitting there. And I was like at the table, and it was full. And I was like, "Well, son of a bitch!" Like, all righty then. And then his handler, Sarge, was, he was like, "No, you can't stay." And then he ends up staying for like half an hour.
No, dude, he was there 2 hours.
Like, was it that long? I don't know. I gave up. I went and found something else to do.
Because Darren and I were at the bar for at least 15 to 20 minutes while he was there. And then I got there, and I mean, he was just telling stories, man. Like, I did a flyby.
I crop dusted a couple times, just to listen in. No, I'm kidding. And I did do a flyby though, just to kind of catch a little bit of it, but I didn't want to just sit there and be like, all right, I'm going to stand here behind you, hovering. I'm not that kind of person. I don't like that shit. But that was fun though. For everybody that was there, I know that was a great experience, having him sit there. Who knows how long he's going to be able to do all. I mean, who knows? God willing, right?
D from Sergeant Reds, that's Red, that's his wife.
Yeah.
She told me before, because they had him there, they're like, he is the nicest guy. And I mean, I've heard all good things, like you couldn't find a better guy to be an ambassador for G.I. Joe, but she just raved. She's like, he's such a nice guy. I didn't really think that I'd meet him because I'm not going to pay $117
for
breakfast. Like, you don't make eggs are not made that good to be for $117.
Nope, can't do
it. And I always said, like, hey, if he wants to come sit with us at a breakfast or a dinner, like, I'll buy him dinner, whatever. Like, I want to hear stories, but I don't want to be there with a whole bunch of people. He sat there with us, and I swear it was 2 hours because his handler was not happy.
No.
He was not happy because he's like, you're doing this tomorrow morning, and these people aren't going to pay.
Right.
He didn't give a shit.
Well, he probably also wanted to get back to his room. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he's got to sit there. It's like he probably wanted to get back.
He's like, I don't like this.
Well, he's the star. He makes the rules.
He gets it. Like,
right.
If you're just a shitbag, I'm sorry we're talking about Joe Fair. If you're just a shitbag and you're like, I'm here to get my money, there are going to be people that sure want want your autograph, but there's also going to be people like, yeah, I got it, and I don't ever want to talk to the guy again.
Dude, stuff like that goes such a long way. It really does. Stuff like that goes a long way, man. Yes, there are people, they did pay the money. They, they wanted to have the breakfast. Would they be pissed that they didn't?
And they get a different experience.
Exactly. But I think from the perspective of the fan and everything, it's rare that kind of thing happens. And when it does, it goes a long way because people will remember that for the rest of their life.
Yeah. I didn't give two shits about medium. I didn't care.
And it
about
wasn't contrived. It wasn't pre-planned. It wasn't set out. It wasn't on a clock. It wasn't none of that stuff. It was
the whole
off the
goal of
cuff.
Joe Fest was to meet all of you guys and have a good time. It was not to meet Sarge. The fact that he sat down there like one of us, but had stories, especially about the WWF and everything, that that we know part of it, but to hear, it's like my ex's brother played professional baseball. So you listen to Jim Rome, right?
I used to.
Okay.
I used to. So I know plenty about Jim.
Okay, so you know the story about Wade Boggs and the 37 beers.
Yep.
Right? You've probably heard that before.
I have heard it on his show a few times.
Yeah. So Susan's brother was with him. He told the whole story. He told me the whole story. And the whole story of, that the fact that he drank 36 beers on and Scott was like, no, it was, we left Yankee Stadium. We had to fly across country. So you're talking like 2 or 3 hours in New York traffic, get on the plane. It's a 4-hour trip. Then we got to the hotel and he goes, it's amazing how much he drank. And he goes, and then, we get in there. It's like 2 a.m. to the hotel. And he lines up 6 beers for all of us. And all of us were like, dude, we got to play tomorrow. Like, we're not drinking. And he drank them all. And he goes, he got like 2 or 3 hits that day. So, like, to hear that story, to like hear it firsthand, and you're like, this is fucking crazy. You know? So to hear like Sarge telling these stories, you're like,
right. Yeah, I mean that's why I said I just think that it's really great when stuff like that happens, and so often you go to stuff, whether it's a concert or sporting event or whatever, and those experiences, they never happen. Sometimes you go to stuff and you think maybe it could happen if I after the band finishes playing, maybe if I'm out by the bus, or I'm, they come out, and maybe somebody will actually sign my, this or maybe, and it just, that stuff, it never, ever happens. You don't get those moments. So that was really cool of him to do that.
And if he just wanted to get back to his hotel room and he said hi to everyone and he's just like, I'm tired. Yeah. You can't be mad at him.
Ain't nobody gonna be mad. Nobody's gonna be.
I mean, what he's late 60s, early 70s. At least
he's 70s. He's got to be 70.
And you never know. Not the way he's. I mean, he was.
Oh no,
he was not ready to go. It was when that veteran pulled up on the wheelchair.
Yes.
The moment he stood up, that's when his handler was able to get him and was like, "Let's go."
Right. Speaking of that
dude, there.
That dude, man, he had all kinds. He had guns attached to his scooter and everything. Man, that dude was rolling.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
All right.
So when did you meet your baby mama? That's what Tony calls his.
I call her the mother of my son, actually. Now, jokingly, yes, of course, that phrase, but in all honesty, though, through the years, whenever I've been talking to somebody, I've referred to her as the mother of my son. So we met in 2005. 2005. I was bartending. She worked at Hooters, and her and her friends used to come into my bar at Fridays, which is not far from there. And they would come in after work because we stayed open late. Friday stayed open until like 1:30 in the morning, 2:00 in the morning back in those days. And so they would get off of work at Hooters. Her and her friends would come and hang out. And I met her at my bar bartending. And I remember, just immediately like, holy moly. And there was this other dude that she was friends with. And him and his friend used to go to Hooters and hang all the time. And I met them through her. And he had this huge crush on her, like huge crush on her. And then when her and I got together and started dating, man, like that poor kid was crestfallen. I mean, that dude was like, he was like friend zoned big time. And I knew he was friend zoned. That's why I wasn't worried about him. and that poor brother, man, he was tore up, but he lived through it. But no, yeah. So about 2005, and then in 2006, I bought a house with the intention of starting a family, settling down. doing the right thing, right? Like this is what you do, right? I'm 30 years old almost, whatever, or 30, 31. And so that's, making the strides, right? And making good money and saving money and all stuff. So, well, so her and I, we moved into that house in June of 2006, I think it was. So we met like well, really we met in December of like, it was like somewhere in early 05. But anyway, so 2006, I bought that house. We moved in. And for the first, year plus, we did all the normal stuff you do, right? Planting flowers and the whole nine, all that stuff, grilling out, having friends over, Super Bowl parties. One of the greatest memories is having a Super Bowl party when your team actually wins the Super Bowl. That's one of the greatest moments in my life because the Steelers that year won it and everybody was there to celebrate with me. But also I bought a house during the phase where they were handing out loans like lollipops and candy canes. And I got in a house for $0 down. And that came back to haunt me a couple years later in 08. When the market crashed. But anyway, so yeah, we dated for a couple of years roughly before she got pregnant. And I remember when she told me too, she was all crying and stuff. She was upset. And she was worried about what I was going to say, like how I was going to react. And I was like, hell yes. Please let it be a boy, be a boy, be a boy, be a boy. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was excited, like I was definitely stoked. But she didn't know how I would react. And I was like, come on. I mean, I'm a super easygoing person. But I can understand that, I guess. She's a lot younger than me. She's 9 years younger than me. So at that time, she was like early 20s, very early 20s. And so over the course of the pregnancy and stuff, things just kind of became a little more strained. There were some family things that got in there that her family kind of said some stuff, did some stuff, my family, whatever, said some stuff, whatever. And it was crazy. It got crazy. Cool girl. I mean, we have a better relationship now than we did, back at the back end of those times, obviously.
There.
But, but her mom was, I don't know what was going on with her mom, but just her mom all of a sudden went from really liking me to really hating me. I don't know what it was that happened. I don't know what I did, but her mom said some really, really insulting things to me. And right before she had the baby, and I had to throw her out of my house. Heather didn't want to talk to her, didn't want nothing to do with her because of the baby shower that was had. Her mom acted like a fool during the baby shower. And my mom and sister had really helped and worked hard to put it on, and she didn't want to help. And then when it happened, she got jealous and mad that so many people showed up, and then she got mad that she didn't have nothing to do with it. And they tried to get her to help, like tried to get her every day, texting her, calling her, hey, what do you think about this color? What do you think about this? And she just didn't get involved. And then when it happened, she got mad and spent the whole baby shower in her car smoking cigarettes. So after that, she started hating me. And the next day, Heather didn't want nothing to do with her. And so we're laying in bed and the phone starts ringing at like 7:30 in the morning. And she says, if she comes over here, you tell her to leave. I don't want to talk to her. So I was like, okay. So she shows up on my doorstep, banging on the door. She walks in, starts cussing me out and talking shit about my family. I told her to get the fuck out of my house. Got to go. And from then on, that was the final straw. And I mean, look, her mom and I have a decent relationship now. It's fine. We can joke around, all that stuff. But at that time, it was crazy because I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, I'm getting, what is going on? And then about 2 weeks later, I think her mom kind of got in Heather's ear, and then Heather like, hey, I'm going to go stay with my mom. Now, this is right after my son was born. And what was really wacko about it is her mom and my mom both wanted to be in the delivery room. Now, these are two people that are like this. And me and Heather are like, when we went to the hospital, it was like, oh my God. Like, there's no way we can have both of these women in there. I was like, I don't want to see your mom. I don't want to see your mom at all. I know my mom don't want to see your mom, and I really don't want my mom in there either.
You know what?
That shit is weird, man.
My ex, when we got pregnant with Andrew, she said that she wanted her daughter to be there because Emily was like 9, and I'm like, no. I go, this is something between us. Now, obviously, my mom's dead, and at that point, she hadn't talked to her mom in, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. I'm
like, no, this is something between us. This is special between us and the horde of doctors and nurses. I'm like, no, I love Emily. I've raised her. She's my daughter. She's my daughter. But it didn't matter. I wouldn't want my own kid to be there.
Right.
And of course I did get I got my wish, I guess you could say. I think she realized, like, first off, a 9-year-old has no reason to be in there.
Yeah, no, it's just not. It's not good. Not at that age, definitely. But I just think it's just a special thing between the two parents. I really do. And
it's different if you have a male partner that doesn't care.
Sure.
And it's different.
Sure.
But that's not what I wanted. And I think
it was so ultimately they came in and said, we're gonna have to do a C-section. And at that point, they do not let anyone else in there. And I was like, me and Heather both were like, hell. So we got rid of that problem real quick because before
I don't know. I want to do a C-section just to get rid of. I mean, how bad it must have been.
Well, so here's the deal. So this is what happened. She went into labor. Her water broke at like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and I was closing the restaurant. I was in management at this time with Fridays, and I was the closing manager that night. And I'm in the restaurant, and I get a phone call, and I had to kick everybody out of the restaurant. I said, we're closing early. I ain't doing shit. I'm locking the doors. I'm out of here. And so I went, and her mom had already got over to my house. Took her to the hospital. So I didn't get to drive her to the hospital. So I met them at the hospital. So mind you, I walk into the room with this one lady, and then her mom's sitting there on one side. I'm sitting on the other side of her, and I'm going, oh God. And so then for the next like 12 hours or longer, we're in the one room waiting to figure out when it's go time. And so I'm sleeping on this little cot late rollout thing. Her mom's there, and then my mom's there, and everybody. And so when they finally, my son's heart rate started spiking, going up and down because the umbilical cord was getting wrapped around his neck. Oh. And so they gave her epi, and they said, we're going to have to get him out. And so that's what we did. And when they told us that, they said, oh, here, Dad, we're going to roll her up. And then when they came back in, like my mom, and I think her mom was getting ready to hot foot it up there. And they said, oh no, it's just the father and the mother. And I was like, yeah. I was so happy. And so they, went upstairs, and then, oh gosh, if any of you guys have had kids, if you hadn't had kids, I got to tell you, and yes, son, you were born awesome like that. So here's the deal. When they do a C-section, they have they have a sheet separating you and the female. And I'm sitting in a chair, and there's a sheet between us, and I could see her face kind of, because they got her a little bit upright. Okay. And they're like, making the incision or whatever. And then literally it's like, all you can see is the top part of somebody's body being like, move this way, and then this way, and this way, as they're trying to get the baby out. And it's like the body's going, and then finally, right as they're pulling him out, they're like, okay, Dad, stand up. And I'm like, what? And they're like, they pull him out, and they showed him to me. And I was like, I never want to see that again.
So, all I'm picturing right now is, do you remember the TV show V, when she has the kid?
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, the V baby comes out after it. Like that's what I'm picturing. Because you're like you're waggling your butt like this, and I'm just picturing that little green monster going.
Oh my God! Yes. Oh yes. I mean, dude, listen. And had that little thing came out, I would have loved it like my very own. No, it was so crazy though because they do have like her lower half covered with like a sheet. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when
did you look at the incision?
Not really, because your focus is the kid. They kind of they get.
He went through that and he said they told me not to look and I looked.
They
and
did.
He was like, do not look.
I didn't.
Still have.
But it's hard because like your focus is the kid. They're trying to shield her a little bit with the kid.
Yeah.
Well. And so yes, V for visitors.
It's actually
and victory.
V for victory. I knew that too, but I just watched Minty's thing.
Okay.
I love it.
But yeah, so anyway, anybody that's had a child by C-section, it is wild, obviously for her especially. What's up, Loki? But yeah, so your focus is just mainly on the kid. They're trying to shield her, but they clipped the umbilical cord and then they walked him over to my side while they were stitching her up and cleaning her up, and then they took that little vacuum and they sucked all the crap out of his mouth, his lungs or whatever. They stick it down their mouth and it's like, and then they cleaned him up and they handed it to me. I got to hold him first. Actually, I got to hold him first, which is freaking awesome. And of course, I started bawling, just absolutely losing it. And then we walked over and then I handed him back to Heather. They kind of pulled a little sheet back and I handed him to her. So she could hold him.
Did you cut the umbilical cord?
No. Oh God, I don't even remember, to be honest with you.
Oh, you remember because
I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't think I did because of it.
And like, you want to cut it? I'm like, not really, but like,
I think they did.
It doesn't cut. You're like,
oh yeah, it's like having some blunt scissors and you're trying to cut like a freaking.
Because it's not like a.
They're weird shit. I know what you're talking about.
But it's also how the umbilical cord is. And
because
it's connected, you think that it's going to hurt them or hurt your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. Oh my God, dude. Like, I don't think I did it with my daughter. I was just like, you can just do it.
You can do it this time.
I learned my lesson on that one. There's really nothing special about it. All right.
Yeah,
hurry up and clamp it with those clamps there.
Yeah, man. No, it was. I don't think I did because of the C-section, but I don't really remember. But I remember seeing him, and I remember them cleaning him up and handing him to me first, and then me walking over to hand him to her. Them kind of helped me hand him to her. And then it was really a lot of fun when we got back to the recovery room because that's when everybody's relative, both of our relatives, were all there. Animosity, right? Just animosity city. And then my mom and dad haven't spoken since they got divorced in 1984. So you can imagine I have a photograph of.
I think you talked about this before.
I did. Everybody was in a circle passing my son around, and my dad happened to be next to my mother. And when it got to my dad, he went to pass my son to my mom, and it was like someone. His body stayed as far away from my mother and his arms were holding my son out like this to give to my mom. And he's like this. And I got a picture of it. And it's the most ridiculous thing. I swear to God, because I'm like, seriously? Like, seriously? All these years later, you guys can't, and they still don't to this day.
Yeah.
To this day, 1984 until now. Amazing to me. I can't even imagine that level of whatever.
Like
I can't. But it was funny and it was a great picture and it's on a hard drive somewhere. I have to dig it up. But yeah, so that was that experience, man. It was it's the best thing I've ever done. People that have kids usually will tell you that. I mean, it is the best thing I've ever done. There are other things I've done I really love. But it is the best thing that's ever happened to me as a human being.
This is what I said after Andrew was born. I go, after like the moment I held him, that was the first time I said I would kill someone.
Right.
You know, like I would kill someone if they hurt him. Like if someone like I can't remember. Sorry, YouTuber, but like
I know, right.
You know, like it is a love that you don't understand. That's why when people
Yeah.
go, I don't have kids, but I have dogs, so I know what you mean. No, you don't. Do not fucking compare my kids to my dog. Because let me explain something to you. I love this dog right here. But if someone puts a gun in front of in my kid's fucking face, I'm stepping in front of that. If someone puts a gun in my face, I expect this guy to fucking bark and take the bullet for me.
Right.
Sorry, Roman. Like,
look,
don't tell me that. Yeah.
And I feel you on that. And look, and I know there are people with strong feelings about that, right? I get it. I do. I fully understand. But yeah, I mean, it's another human being, and it's like part of yourself, right? Like it literally is a part of yourself. You had a part in this creation. And an animal is just not that. It's not something, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm by no means saying that there's not love there, that people don't truly love their animals, you know, but but at the same time, I mean, it is you know, have a kid, you know, that you helped make. It's just it's something you can't. It's even hard to describe sometimes, like what it actually really feels like.
Yeah, it is different because again, Emily's not mine, but I would die for her. Like,
yeah, and I understand that too.
But again, like if someone came in, I'm expecting this guy to be the first one to defend me and especially the kids.
Yeah, no,
you know,
and right.
You know, if he was, God forbid, something like they took him, but it saved us. Like he did his job. And this sounds awful in some ways, but I'm sorry. Like, yeah,
it does. But then why do people say, you know, it's my guard dog? I mean, what if a guard dog's not going to guard, then why would you? You know what I mean? And I know you're not saying this is why I bought him, you know, or got him or saved him or what. I know that, you know. I mean,
you just put your wife in front of your children. I don't know, man. Like, wait a minute.
Well, listen, you know what? And I don't know. So Heather and I were never married. Okay,
I'm with you there.
We were engaged. We were engaged.
Wasn't even that.
But yeah, I mean, but we did not get married. So I don't know what it feels like to be married and all that. But I do feel like you, Punk. Like I think your kids ultimately end up being, you know, like the first in line. Of course, then, you know, people say, you know, like God, family, you know, if they group them together, right? Group family together, right? I get it. But I'm with you. I don't know. You know, and it depends on how long you've been married too, right? She might come after the animal.
Your wife can one day not be your family. Unfortunately, your kids will always have to be.
That's true. That's true. Whether they like it or not.
I'm in the process of trying to see if I can get one of them not to be sometimes.
Oh my God. I told you, man. I told you I'm an open book. I'll tell you anything. I don't even care, man. I'm wide open.
No. You know, one day I will one day when someone interviews me, I will tell the story about when my son was born, because Susan is like, she's like, I couldn't believe you. I'm like, me? Fuck, dude. Like, but it's not about me. So one day when someone interviews me and they ask, all right. So how long? So you said like your son was just born and she decided.
Yeah, it wasn't long afterwards because her mom really got to her and kind of, and as family often does, got in her ear. And just she got convinced. I don't know, you know. I mean, and we were, look, the age difference did start to make a difference in some factors, which I think at that age it does make a difference. Now, as you get into your like late 30s or 40s, whatever, you know, I don't think age is such a big deal as after people can become adults and really live, you know.
It depends. I see people that are my age or in their mid 40s and they're dating girls in their 20s, and it's like
right.
Okay, here's what I have to say. If you find a girl that is more mature and she doesn't want to live that lifestyle, very seldom are you going to find that.
Agreed.
It's more or less you're in your 40s and you still want to live that lifestyle, and you're like, hey, but hey, if you don't have kids and you can do it, then yeah, you know what? Do what you want.
And that's what my buddy my buddy Steve is that way. I've got other friends that way as well. They still stay out all night. They still go hang out. They, at the bar and do this and that, and whatever, and all that. And so, I get it. Look, it's whatever, to each his or her own. I don't give a shit. But I know for us, it's just, I think, family wise, I think it was too much for her. And so it wasn't long after my son was born that she decided to go stay with her mom. So when I talk about that Super Bowl party, well, that was the 2008 season. That Super Bowl was in like February of 2009, and he was
the Detroit Super Bowl.
No, that was the one that beat Arizona, and not the Seahawks, but it's 3 years later. And I had a Super Bowl party, and
did you know Jerome Bettis is from Detroit?
I do. I know the whole story. Trust me. I have the DVD.
Oh, so did we.
Right. Commemorative books, flip coin, bobbleheads, you name it. I know that obviously was what it became. The whole thing became about.
Like, has there never been another athlete
that
played a championship in their hometown?
And it's like, and he can retire, and that's all he cared about in the end is and it's like, right, okay, all right.
There must have been someone else on Pittsburgh that's like, hey, I grew up in Detroit.
It probably was, but you didn't hear about him, and I couldn't tell you who it was because I sure as hell didn't hear about him either.
It's not like there's no players that come out of Michigan, but oh my God, that storyline, just like, all right,
it was I agree. Although, that was a great year of my life, that one, but 2008 to 2009, both the football season, pro, and then the next college season was also one of the greatest years because Alabama won their national championship. That was Saban's first at Alabama. So like the Steelers won the Super Bowl in the 2008 season, Alabama won it in the 2009 season. But I remember my son was almost a year old, and she moved in with her mom, and then she moved back in. And during that Super Bowl party, she was pissed that I was having a Super Bowl party, so she didn't come over, and then was mad, that I had a bunch of people over. But I'm like, that's what normal people do, like this is nothing crazy. This is normal people life, but then she would move back to her mom's, and then like 2 months later, she would come back over and live with the house, and then she'd move out again, and then she'd come back, and so, then it was on again, off again for like the next, year plus. So it was weird because I'd have to go over and visit my son. She wouldn't let him spend the night with me. She didn't think I was responsible enough to make sure he didn't pass away in the middle of the night or during the day while I'm playing with him for some reason. The Super Bowl party, he was there. 3-Star was there. Yeah, man, she came over at the end of it after it was about almost over and most people was taking off. And yeah, people drinking and stuff, but yeah, she rolled in with him in the little carrier thing or whatever. And that was it was not good. But here's the thing, to her credit, so to speak. She was young, but I say matured. She did not want to live the lifestyle of staying up, and going out, hanging out, drinking, or, having parties and stuff like that. She got out of that very quickly. She got a job at a lab, pretty young. She quit working at Hooters. She got a job at a lab, and, pretty responsible job, and did very well for herself for someone who didn't graduate high school. She did great, and really now she's a certified dog trainer. She quit her lab job she'd been doing for years. She's a certified dog trainer now. But nonetheless, my point is she matured where I was still liking to hang out and still liking to go have a drink at the bar and, hang out with my friends and stuff like that. And I'm in my 30s. early 30s. And to her, that was like the worst thing you could do, was to want to go hang out and have a shot of whiskey and drink a beer. It's like,
Mr. Madness had said,
oh, my bad.
Not being funny, but she wasn't staying with mom, so she just could do what she wants to do.
Actually, no. So, okay. Not really at that time, because my son was so young. However, when she moved back in, yeah, I never understood why people like the nightlife. My son is not he's not like me in that respect. And he's not like, it's just things he just likes and doesn't like. And that's cool. Yeah.
Hey, I don't drink. I've never drank in my life.
Yeah.
I've never done drugs, but
right.
I enjoyed being out late.
I've been a night owl my entire life, and I still am. And I probably won't go to bed tonight till probably like 3 a.m.
And again, also there was, everything was closed, so you could skateboard anywhere you wanted.
Yeah.
I know it sounds stupid, but I can't tell you how many places we skated that you couldn't do till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right. I mean, it's, and look, the thing of it is yes, look, I still like to have a drink at that time. I still like to have a drink now. I don't drink in front of my son. I don't, if we go out to eat, I think I had a margarita on Father's Day, like last Father's Day. I think I might have had a margarita at the restaurant or something like that, but that's rare. That's a rarity. But yeah, like I like to have a shot, whatever. And at that time, I mean, I was managing a restaurant. Had a lot of stress, and then I had a lot of this crap going on at home. And so, I mean, I wasn't staying drunk by any means, but what happened is I would come home from work, because Fridays closed really late. I would get home at 3:30 in the morning after counting the steaks and the bullshit and closing the register, all the shit down, counting it, locking the safe and leaving and driving 25 minutes home. And she'd be in the bed, and the dog would be in the bed, and my son would be in the bed. So there's no spot for me. So yes, I would sleep on the couch. And she would find me asleep on the couch. So she assumed I was getting hammered and just coming home and sleeping on the couch so I wouldn't get caught. But in reality, it was that there was no room in the bed. Like, and I didn't want to wake them up, and I didn't want to wake my son up. So I just sleep on the couch. But nonetheless, yeah, after a while, we tried to work it out for a while, and then she ended up meeting some dude at work, and so she ended up cheating on me. I found out because she saved his number in her phone under some girl's name. And I remember one morning she was getting ready for work, and phone was just blowing up, man, like blowing up. And I'm like, who is trying to get a hold of you at this time? Like, who is and it's like Barbara, but the words Barbara was saying wasn't the words Barbara would say, if you know what I mean. And
your son now knows.
Well, he knows. Whatever.
I do want to address this really quick. Aaron said, I get hammered every once in a while. Well, it's hard to get hammered with all those electrolytes. They're just flowing through you. Like,
that's right, man. When you constantly got them electrolytes, dude, man, you staying sober all the time. Hydrated, baby. It's what plants crave. So it's got electrolytes. Anyway, but nonetheless, so that happened. I told you I'm an open book. I don't care. And that sucked. You know what I mean? Like, it sucked, but I also
it really sucks.
Well, part of me was relieved, though. Part of me was relieved because I knew, like, this was not going to end the way I wanted it to end ultimately. And I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen in some way. Now, look, I didn't do anything with nobody. I'm not saying that makes me a great person and nothing like that. But I did know in my heart that like we were not going to last. I just knew it. Like it wasn't going to happen. And so when that happened, there was a sense of relief for me.
I felt the same way.
And I was, and look, don't get me wrong. In the moment I was pissed, and when I called it out, she was getting ready for work, and then she blamed it on me for going through her phone and got all mad. And I'm like, wait a minute. You can't wait. You can't be mad at me because I went through your phone when you done did this and you've been doing this, right? Because I noticed she was coming home late, like going to hang out with her friend. And I'm like, what? She'd come home drunk. And I'm like, you don't drink no more, Harlan. What are you talking about? And so I knew something was up. But man, she got ready for work and she peeled out that driveway. She backed out, and damn if she didn't take off my right fucking taillight. Just broke that son of a bitch right off the back of the car. Broke my damn taillight. Didn't even stop.
So when did she get married to this guy and they had a...
Oh, come on.
You mean it didn't last?
You already know.
Oh, shocker! Because
every guy knows how that story plays out.
My ex, who left me for someone and was going to raise this wonderful family and raise my kids, with him,
sure,
even though he couldn't raise his own fucking kids,
right?
That lasted about 6 months after she finally moved out.
Yep, same deal. This guy was actually almost like my age. He was like a delivery driver who dropped off samples at the lab, and
the only place he was dropping off samples.
Yeah, you already know. You already know. Okay, DNA shake. So anyway, but yeah, the thing was though is you're right, and this happens so often, and guys, this is that the person that they end up cheating on you with is not the person they're going to end up with, because it's a means to an end, and that will end, right? And yes, my son says I remember moving around a lot after third grade. That is true, and that is because she has always liked to be with someone. Okay, and that's okay. People are like that. Not everybody wants to be on their own or is comfortable always being on their own, but she is not that way, and she has always liked to be with someone. And however, after we split up, she dated that guy for about 6 months. Then after that ended and she moved out, mind you, let me tell you, okay, and I would still be this way today. It's just kind of person I am. Okay, I don't hate the girl. I never hated her by any means. I cared a lot about her. She's the mother of my son. But when I found out she cheated on me, I let her stay at my house for another 3 weeks. She slept in the bed. I slept on the couch.
11 months.
Okay, well, you're a better man than I am. But I also helped her find an apartment. I helped buy her furniture, and I helped her move, and I moved it into her apartment. I helped with every aspect of that whole thing. Every bit of it I helped with. And then from then on out, I was coming over there every other whatever, visiting my son, playing with my son. And at that time, it's when I quit managing, and I opened up a sports bar as a bartender for some friends of mine. And I also started hosting karaoke. And and so I knew this relationship was going to end. Yes, it ended that way. Yes, it sucks. But at that point, then things changed, and I had to start pivoting in a different direction and try to learn how to manage that, But no, of course she went with the guy. And actually what ended up happening is after that relationship ended, her and I got back together for about 9 months.
Nope.
I know
how the movie ends. I've read the book.
Yeah.
Nope. No. I don't.
And I thought maybe, of course, you hope against hope, but ultimately, she moved back in, and or stayed over a lot more anyway, and then was at her apartment and whatever. And that it was cool because I had my son back. He's in his bed again, and we're whatever. And but yeah, no, it didn't last, and that's just it. You know what I mean? The backslide. I mean, you think, right? You say this is the right thing to do, or this is the way it's supposed to be, or this is how, and ultimately, no, it's not. And that's just it.
First off, this is not the backslide I like. with the girls.
Well, yeah.
But I will say this, and maybe it's just perception. I feel like when a woman leaves her relationship for another guy, like especially like a serious one, they don't seem to last. But it seems like men, when they leave for someone else, they tend to stay together much longer, if not forever. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, because if you cheat, you cheat. It's wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
it just seems like the men that leave for someone else usually tend to stay together.
And I don't know, like I can't necessarily speak to it per se because I don't really know. And I'm trying to think of some friends or people that I do know that maybe that has been the case, but I don't know. Like I don't know that I can bring up an example for you. I mean, so I'm not sure. I mean, I'll take your word for it. And don't get me wrong, if I really rack my brain, I guess thinking about it, maybe I do know some examples.
And I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's just a perception of it. And again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not.
Oh yeah. Right. Of course, no.
It's just perception seems like.
But look, we've all been through multiple relationships in our lives. Some people are lucky they find that one person, or maybe date two people, and they find a person and they're with that person forever. Yeah, Charlotte.
Believe me, I've had two, and it's like, oh.
I've had guys at work tell me that too, because they have like really high paying jobs, and I've joked around with them. I'm like, man, come on, I'll trade places with you. You want to work my job? I'll take yours. And they're like, yeah, I got 4 kids at the house. And the only reason I have that job is so that I can afford to pay for all 4 of those kids. I'm like, never mind.
I love it.
But yeah, it's, it is what it is. Like I said, our relationship now is great. I don't know if there was ever like a co-parenting thing. I think through the years I've been looked at is that, you're not raising them per se. You're not in the house every day. So your parenting tips and opinions are not as valid. I've been made to feel that way. I think a lot of every other dads are made to feel that way, but it's not for the lack of want. Like I would have preferred to be in the house every day and seen those interactions between dinner and bed and getting up in the morning. And yet, at the same token, I also feel like there is a part of not being a part of those everyday interactions that keeps your relationship with your child in a different area, because sometimes those everyday interactions create a lot of animosity between a parent and a child. And I have not really had that aspect of it.
And I don't like my ex was a different person when we split up. She was completely different. And I can't remember because we went 5 on, like I had them 5 and then she had them 9. So it wasn't the direct 50-50, which is what I wanted.
Right.
And we got in a fight. And this was when we still weren't getting along that well. And she's like, you brought up to them how I have you so much more. And I'm like, this is none of their business. I've never done that. But our kids are smart. They were able to figure out 5 and 9. Like, I'm sorry, like I didn't have to say anything. They would say something to me and I would be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Your mother and I both love you. And if you're with your mom, you can call me anytime. And she lives right down the street. I can come see you guys. Like, and if you're here and you're missing her, you can call her. She can come, And now everything. I mean, we have a great relationship. She just walks to my house. She has, the code to my house, and I have the code to her house, and so.
Yeah, I mean, it's also called like getting older. I mean, it's just part of life, right? Like you get older, and it's just the things that were so important that you just held dearly to, and the certain things that you just couldn't bend on, and all that stuff. You slowly release those things and let go of a lot of that stuff. I've always lived in the same state. Now we've been counties apart for a lot of the time, because while I've been in the main Nashville area, she has kind of moved him around to few different counties. He's kind of bounced a few schools when he was younger, but she did settle into a more of a rural county and area, small high school, small middle school, feeding in the high school. And I actually, as much as I love him living with me these last several years, I'm so glad he's not going to the schools in my area in Nashville, not the public schools anyway. Even my old high school has changed dramatically, and it's in a good area. I mean, but where he's at, I think, is actually perfect. Now, he didn't, not growing up with a street full of kids like I did. He's more country, more rural area, but it's not so outside of Nashville. It's only about a 40-minute drive for me.
Yeah.
But, 45 minutes, but it's outside the city. And I like that because I think it's a different pace, and there's a lot of the problems that kids deal with right now in public schools and in Nashville and more populated areas that he's not really dealing with. And I appreciate that. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad he's where he's at right now. As much as I wanted him with me this whole time,
Yeah.
I'm glad he's actually been where he's been the last several years. Good.
All right. So you guys have split up, and you're still bartending, you're still doing all this. So let's get to where you're at now with your YouTube and everything.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of skipped over a lot of collecting. When did you start collecting again?
2020.
All right. So during COVID.
Yes, but yeah.
Maybe not directly because of that, but during that.
Yeah, definitely not because of that. So basically I came across Flint and Major Blood at might have been Target, Walmart, shit, I don't remember exactly where. G.I. Joe Classified.
Major Blood that old?
Yes, he was one of the first ones. He's
I know that because I remember $45,000.
Yeah. Those Cobra Island ones, I remember seeing those, thinking like, that's a cool concept. I like this 6-inch figure. And when I got him and Flint on the same day, and it was in 2020, maybe earlier. I moved back to Nashville. For 3.5 years, I lived in a town called Murfreesboro, which is MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University college town.
Okay.
Very huge, very growing county.
Really? Man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Matthew said Major Blow. Yeah, he was, man. I cannot believe it was.
Yeah, early, man. Like that's
that's the second wave of Cobra Island. So they had already had the first wave.
Yeah, the Cobra Commander. I remember seeing like at Walgreens the Cobra Commander variant. Like they had some classifieds at Walgreens. I'd walk by and see it on the shelf, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool," But it reminded me of those big plastic G.I. Joes, the really cheapy ones you'll see at a Dollar General or some shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I remember when I saw Major Blood, and I said, "Good God, like this is awesome." And then I saw Flint, and I say anybody that knows me, not many people know this, but Flint is like my favorite character. All right, Flint is my dude. And so I've always loved that guy. So when I saw him, I got them both the same day in 2020. And I remember calling Darren. I remember texting him or calling him. I took pictures of him and sent it to him. And I was like, dude, you got to check these things out, man. Like, these are awesome. And he was not collecting at that time. Now, I remember when he was collecting, and he had Star Wars and G.I. Joe, and he had him up in the house, even had him, displayed around here and there, and the house he's at now. And but I remember when he got rid of all of it, or at the very least just kind of took it all down. And it's probably when he started dating this girl. But anyway, so I called him. I told him, I said, man, these things are awesome. Like, you got to check these out. And he was like, yeah, those are pretty badass. And then I started adding a few more. And he may correct me in the chat. Was it my birthday or was it Christmas when y'all came over and I broke out my collection and you had just started buying them? because I pulled all my shit out. They're still in the box. And I put them all out on the couch downstairs and I lined them all up and he just went through all of them. And he was with this other girl at the time. And then she was like, oh yeah, that's right. You like, and he's like, I mean, I got him and I got him, but like I had a bunch of them and had just started getting them. I just love that line. I love the look of them. And it was my mom's birthday in March. So that was in March of like 2021. I had started really buying into them. And so I remember when the Hiss tank, I was watching what's that?
It's only the Hiss.
Oh, well, okay. My bad. So
it's not a tank.
Okay. The Hiss tank. Anyway, so it was when they were doing the HasLab, there's a channel I like to watch called Geeks and Gamers. And they, at the time, the Star Wars Riva lightsaber was like, I think they were trying to get that thing going or some bullshit, and they were making fun of it. But the HasLab Hiss was going on, and they talked about how it funded in a day. And I kept looking at it, and I thought, boy, $300 is a lot of money to spend on a toy. I was like, but here I am buying $25 a pop, these figures. I've done spent probably $800, $900, And I'm like, man, oh man, that thing looks awesome. And so I waited till the very last day in the very last hour. And I remember before it went over, I remember sending 3-star message. And I said, man, you need to back this thing, dude. I was like, this thing is awesome. Like, it is awesome. It looks awesome. And I'm not, I don't consider myself a collector. I do collect this line, but I really don't buy any other toys. I did buy the Voltron, and we did a review on it together, me and 3-star. And when we went out to Joe Fest, I bought like the chicken fried and the Delta stuff, but really I don't look for anything else. I really don't. And so I just went all in on them. And then I backed that Hiss tank in the last hour. And then 3-star really started going in. And from then on, it was me and him texting each other. Did you see the new wave? Did you see the reveal? Did you see the, name only, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I got this guy. Yeah, I just picked him up. He got delivered. We still do that. And then he went head over heels in love with it. And he far, far surpassed me, because then he started building shelves. He started painting them. He started buying multiples of each figure and flipping some of them and troop building. And I only buy one of each figure. That's just what I do. And he just went crazy with it and blew right past me. So there was a time where I had a whole bunch of them, and he was like, oh, like about 3 or 4. And then from there, it just, but I mean, shit, man, he sent me the Master Disguise Zartan, bought it for me. Package shows up one day. I'm like, what the hell is this? Master Disguise Zartan, Snake Supreme Cobra Commander. Multiple. I mean, it's like, yeah, he just sent them. He's like, did you get that package? I'm like, what are you talking about? I know, right? Not a collector.
There's a BBTS sweepstakes. I didn't even know that.
Oh, wow.
I don't even want to think about my 118th. Last I counted, I had well over 500 Joes. And since then, I've added, not to mention the Delta 17 and stuff. I don't even want to think about the 118th.
I'll tell you, man, like, I remember when I sold all my figures, vehicles, Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, everything, in a yard sale that my aunt had when my cousin was probably about, I don't know, he was like 17, 18, something like that. 16, I think, maybe 16. I don't know. Anyway, and I've never had the desire to go back and refill in those 3 3/4. I love them. I do. But this 6-inch line, I love these things. I just think they look so good. I've really enjoyed it. Once they start getting into those figures, when I started phasing out, then, I'll probably bail. But I do. I really love those figures. And this guy just came this morning. Of course, now I have like 5 of him, 6 of him, different versions. Stalker, and whatever. Just got him. But yeah, man. So that's when I started really collecting. It was in 2020, and I've continued on since then. 3-Star keeps me abreast of a lot of the news, man. Sometimes because as I've started live streaming and trying to keep up with that and stories and other stuff, with my channel, and keep up with some of the things that I want to be knowledgeable about in pop culture. Sometimes it's harder for me to keep up with some of the news that's going on, even with the classified stuff.
Oh no, you're absolutely correct. And you brought up the 118th. I'll be honest. If I did not have so much of my original stuff, I don't know if you know this. I have my original USS flag from when I was.
Somebody had posted that one day on X, months ago.
One day I'll tell the story about it.
I'd love to hear it sometime.
One day I'll let people know. That's a pretty good story.
Sounds interesting.
If I didn't have like all that stuff, I don't think that I would collect the 118.
Yeah.
I have a special place for it in my heart because I have it. But if I came into collecting and I didn't already have it, or maybe I had started to pick up some stuff, but it was just kind of recreating a couple of things I had from my childhood, and then I found the 6-inch stuff, I don't think I would be into it.
I can understand that, because I think if you didn't have some of that stuff, I don't know, maybe the thought of trying to acquire it, not that you don't, add to it, but maybe it's just not there anyway. I don't know.
I know the flag joke is, most people used to have one,
Yeah.
Think of it like this. It's my childhood one. There's no way that I'm getting rid of it.
Hell no.
But at the same time, I have a room downstairs. There's no way that I'm taking it apart and just putting it in a box.
No.
So you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you. I don't have a lot of room, and the classified stuff and all the other 6-inch stuff has really taken over my life. My whole house is just, I have to figure out how to do new shelves in my living room.
Right.
And again, when you're single and you don't have to justify like, hey, I'm
sure.
I'm putting stuff here.
Yep.
Rather than pictures of my kids.
Right.
But I don't think that I would. I think that room downstairs would be, a 6-inch, because I could do so much more, like how Woody does, Woody and some other Savage Land. They do the whole that whole table. Like, I love that idea.
Yeah, it's wild.
I have this 7.5 foot fucking toy that's in the middle of that room. I can't even walk around completely because it's so damn big.
Yeah, I mean, it you're right though. It kind of is a situation though where it's like, yeah, you got to have it, but what can you do then? Because if you want to do anything different, then it's kind of okay. I've got this thing right here, Of course, I guess, technically, if you really, you couldn't even do that.
But, all right,
that one flag that was a multi-layered, multi-leveled thing.
Yeah.
That was freaking awesome, dude.
Same time says your flag is your table, brother. No, it's not, because the problem is I have 5 different types of Sky Strikers.
Oh, shit.
All right. It's as big as it is. You don't realize how big the Sky Striker is.
It's not big enough to use as a.
When you try and put 3 Sky Strikers on it, you're like, this isn't a lot of, especially without the wings. I specifically, and I did not because I didn't have the money. I only ordered 1 HasLab Sky Striker. I wanted 5 Sky Strikers. I wanted to order off as many as you could, just so I could put them on the deck with the wings closed. Just like every single Navy movie that you've ever seen on an aircraft carrier with the F-14 there, they have the wings closed. I
mean, look, you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, come on, it's I can't imagine having 5 strikers though. Like, that's
they're not all on it. I have them flying.
Well, right.
I have one. You know, I have the
In the air?
one taking off,
Yeah.
but I also have the. What was the other big plane they made? Well after that.
What plane?
There was a plane that they made.
No.
It's their stealth plane. I can't think of it.
Oh, man, I was just flipping through 3D Joe's when we were doing one of our lists. I know
only got it
I can't
because
remember.
I picked up a big lot and it was a shell.
It's not the Conquest though. It's
no,
the
I
one
have
that's
one Conquest.
yeah, but
No,
it's
the Raven is Cobras. The Raven is actually
Cobra.
my Raven, my childhood Raven is hanging right now.
Dude, and that plane, God, I love that plane because I love that SR Blackbird. That SR, which is what, and now my son corrects me all the time because I say SR-71, but it was actually supposed to be a SR-17.
Yeah. The Phantom X-19. Yes.
Okay, that's it. That's right.
And I just got the shell of one, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, let me look up how the parts were, and the only thing that I don't have are the wings, the wings for it, the top of the wings.
Yeah.
Top of the plane. So that's the only thing that I need, and since I didn't have one as a kid, I don't even it doesn't matter to me. I gotta go down in the basement of Sarge and Reds and just find one.
Look, I can tell you this. Like if I if I had several or lots of my old Joes, then I probably would be spurred on to get more.
Yeah.
I would be. I know that. And when I go to the flea market sometimes and other places and even Joe Fest, like the only thing I got that was in that somewhat scale, but whatever, was these up here. I bought, and I think I even showed you this at the end of Joe Fest on the showroom floor. I told the guy he was selling them for $35 a piece. And I told him that I had like $40 on me, $45 on me. And he took it. And I got these guys, but I'm not going to go. And these are not great figures, but they are good displays.
Yeah.
Good display figures, but I'm not. Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm just not gonna go and get that scale. I'm just gonna stick with the 6-inch and just kind of keep it all. I did go in on the Mezco and stuff. You know what I mean? But they're G.I. Joe. Now there are some ones that I like, some of the Savage Crucible, and and I love them and I think they look amazing, but I just don't think I would just do anything with them. They're just not. I'm just not interested.
You'd watch them. You'd watch the Savage Crucibles fall over when the ankles can't support.
Yeah, well, that's as I've seen.
Yes, I did see the Sergeant Red. As a matter of that video, the video is new, but when we were at the last event, I was talking to John, and he was showing me there was 8 bats. He has them all. Like everything was in like great condition. And even though I have the flag, I don't have the box anymore. When I'm going upstairs into their room where they had it, and you're just like, they had that in the Defiant. You're like, man, these boxes are big. They're just really big. But let's get to YouTube.
Yeah. Yep. Let's do it.
So how long ago did you start?
Truthfully, it was probably right around Joe Fest.
Okay.
If the first thing I ever made was the May Power of the Force video for your
thank you.
Was for
come on up, dude. Come on up. I will take you to a bunch of toy stores.
Yeah, you evidently have quite a few.
Unfortunately, Nerd Out, another one that I really like, the building next to them caught on fire. So now he's shut down. And I mean right next to him. So I can only imagine how much smoke damage and water damage.
Dude, yeah, that's
luckily awesome. Like where it was at, most of the stuff that is worth stuff was because he has 2 suites is in the other suite. But the smoke damage, who knows how much it
Man, oh yeah, no, absolutely. And if the sprinklers and all that stuff, man, that's a damn shame.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's reopened or not.
Yeah.
I like Randy, but sucks for him.
But yeah, man, it was right around Joe Fest. I put out that May Power of the Force for your channel, and the Prince Gizor, and I actually had a lot of fun making that. And the review part, I'd never done a review before, and also really had not really done much on camera in that respect. And so I think the review part is really long and it really drags. But really, I was extremely proud of the first 2 minutes of the video. That's really all I even cared about. Was the first 2 minutes of the video.
I had to watch it and see if, because I don't know if you did it on purpose to make it look like it was
I did
90s footage. I'm like,
I did.
Is this a real commercial? And then when I could see like there was parts missing on the vehicle, I was like, is this like this kid playing? Like,
those are my toys from my old Star Wars toys.
And I was so impressed with what some of you guys did, because I just wanted people to have fun. Like, that was the whole point. Just have fun.
It was fun, and the most fun part for me before he gets out of here, because my son's got to go tonight, was that I got to do it with him. I got to make the commercial with him, and that was such a blast. Love you, son. I will talk to you tomorrow, and then we'll figure out the band competition on Saturday.
Don't worry, we'll be wrapping up soon because I got to work in the morning.
Yeah, and I definitely want to respect your time as well. It was a lot of fun having him there to do it and play with the toys, and I got the part where I recorded him and used the real sound of him running across the yard going yeah, and then me way slower going yeah, and stuck that in the video, and so I just had a lot of fun kind of trying to brainstorm and set the camera up on the tripod and shoot us playing with the toys, and I put the filter over it to look like an old old footage, 80s commercial. I did the voiceover and the music with the little rock, music background. It's like those old toy commercials. And that was the idea I had. And so I was really happy about doing that. So when I did that, though, I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. What now? And so I'm like, I'm not a review channel, and I don't really want to review my figures. Most of them I haven't even opened yet. And then I'm like, so I knew that I had the name and I knew what I wanted to do ultimately, but then it was like, okay, I got to get to work. And so then I think after Joe Fest, I made a bunch of shorts at Joe Fest, and that got me a bunch of views, got me some subscribers too, a bunch of views. And I was getting, in the hotel, I'm sitting there, me and 3-star staying in the same hotel room, separate beds. And all of a sudden, like my phone, I'm getting emails. It's like, you've reached, 3,500 views. And then the next day it's like, you've reached 7,500 views. And then the next day it's like, you've reached 10,500 views. And I'm like, crap. I'm like, just off of these shorts, and so when I got back, that's when I tried to focus, and the Bucky's costume definitely on some of those shorts was fun. That was great. I did a short about the stupid bathroom doors because they don't have handles and you can't shut them all the way. They were like on a sliding rail at the top.
Oh my God, they were awful.
That was the worst. So I made a short about that shit. And then people watched that. They're like, what the fuck is this? Dude, that was the dumbest door I've ever seen. You couldn't shut it. You couldn't lock it. There's no privacy.
And there was no fan. There was no fan in the bathroom.
No fan, dude. Yeah, no, that was terrible. I said, what kind of shit is this? So I decided to film it. But then when I got back, I was like, okay, I've got to make some content. And so I am passionate about entertainment. I'm passionate about pop culture, and I'm passionate, and not everybody agrees with this way, and not everybody agrees with some of the things that I have to say, and I understand that. But I feel like our pop culture, the franchises we loved are being ruined and being infiltrated and taken away from us in several different ways. And I think some of those ways are extremely insidious, and I think a lot of it's on purpose. And I think it's by a lot of bad actors who have no intention of actually wanting to play with our toys. They only want their toys to belong to them so they can determine what those toys look like, what they sound like, and whether or not it's okay for you to play with those toys. And I'm referring to that as toys, but in reality, I mean like our pop culture, our Star Wars, our Indiana Jones, our, whatever you want, whatever, our comics, our cartoons, our movies, TV shows, and so I'm passionate about that. And so a lot of people that I watch, Matthew also watches, literally the same people. He watches them at a lot faster speed than I do. My brain can't quite handle that 2 times. But we watch a lot of the same shows. So it was very natural about getting a hold of him or about doing a show with him. And so that's really how that came about. And then I wanted to do my own show so I could just talk at my own pace and bring up things that I just want to bring up. Because Matthew watches a lot of the same people I do, but I think we, in different parts of our lives, have the ability to maybe say some things we want to say without, repercussion or thinking about those things, but those are valid concerns. And so there's certain topics I don't want to broach with him because it's not fair to him to put him on blast or put him on, but I know how he feels about a lot of things, but so that's why we keep ours kind of light and fun and easy, and just covering mostly some Hollywood news and a little bit of toy news and whatever on Tuesdays. But Fridays sometimes I'll bring some shit up and I'll cuss him a bit, and I'll nothing too heavy though. I don't think I've had an episode yet on Friday where I've really gone in the way I probably want to, but it just right now, audience size and other things kind of determine some of that,
Everything you said about Matthew, that's why he's like the perfect moderator for me, because I feel the same way. Like, I don't want to bring up politics. I don't want to bring up religion. I've said something. I told Matthew, I'm like, why do people think this? He's like, if they think that, and these other people, like, you're doing your job because nobody knows where you stand. If everyone watches you enough, they know exactly where you stand.
Yes.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
you also are smart enough to realize it can generate the wrong type of people if you're doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that
or push people away.
So I mean, the thing of it is, I think on one sense, if you don't stand for anything, then you don't really stand for, you stand for nothing, right? Like, it's like, if you're ambivalent about it all, or you don't want to speak out, then some people may say that. Now, I don't believe that. I think, like I said, I think we're all in different points in our life, maybe, or especially when you're on camera, you do what, you do. It. Right, it's on your camera. Then you're putting yourself out there. Yeah, right. And
no one needs to know if I'm conservative, if I'm liberal.
Right.
And
that's best. That's best for you. That's the best possible thing you can do. For me, there's a crowd I don't want to attract.
Yeah, we know.
And so therefore, like, I'm fine with people understanding what part of the tracks I'm coming from, but again, I still have never really gone full in. The people I watch, they're not afraid. They don't play around. Yeah. And these people are very popular, like extremely popular. And you can also tell they're good people. And Matthew's met a lot of them, met a lot of them. And I've met a couple of them. And hosted one of them here in Nashville as he was moving across country. Hosted a meetup, chatted with him every day on the phone, whatever. It's not bad people, right? It's like, you could tell bad people when you meet people, and you can tell bad people, and then you can tell who good people are.
There's a lot of people that I completely disagree with, whether it be political,
right?
just and it doesn't mean that you can't be friends with them and not like them.
Absolutely.
You just
And
may not want to watch their show because but when when you sit down with them or whatever, and also when people sometimes turn on this camera, they become way more, let's say, conservative or liberal than when you talk to them in real life, and they can sit there and have an actual conversation and listen to your side of things.
I agree. And, I think, I'm not the biggest. Look, in the 90s.
It goes with this one here. Matthew's knowledge is top notch.
That's right.
Except about
Ninja. Right.
He's wrong about Ninja.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's awesome. Oh my God. I wish I'd have grabbed the pictures of me dressing up as a ninja like 4 Halloweens in a row. So I do love chatting with Matthew on those shows on Tuesday nights because yes, he is a nerd extraordinaire, and he's clear, he's concise, he's very good. He can make his points fantastically. And I love that. And I feel like honestly him, I mean, these people we watch, he shouldn't be a moderator on their shows. He should be on those panels. He should be on those live shows with them. One of the biggest people that we watch, man, this guy's got over 1 million subs, man. He is huge. He has blown up. And Matthew should be on it.
What is Matthew's feeling? What is Matthew's feeling on that song? I Want to Be Ninja.
We've never talked about it.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I don't know.
I want to be ninja. Oh my God. You have to. Oh, dude.
What?
Dude.
Okay. All right.
Look it up.
All right, I will.
The most offensive thing. It's one of the most offensive things, but it's a total comedy skit. But
lovely.
It's not just the song. You have to watch who she's singing it to.
Okay.
Oh.
I've got it.
You gotta give me a few.
Yep. I'm gonna pull it up and keep it over here on this separate tab, and I'll watch it here in just a bit. Fantastic. Okay, good. See, I love that. Give me something new. Give me something good to watch.
Dude, you guys should break that down. It's kind of old now, but it's
whatever.
Maybe last year. So
some things never die, my friend.
But I don't know what it's from. I don't know, but it's hilarious.
Well, I do. I'll ask him about it for this Tuesday too. He's probably gonna text me here in a minute. But yeah, man, it's fun. Look, I love doing it. I love doing the show with him. I like doing the thing on Fridays myself. I do love doing the Sevens Wild with 3-Star every other Wednesday night. That's a blast. Let me see. Just song funnier than watching Bobby Lee crack. Okay.
So Warchef, I think that's where I saw it. That for some odd reason, Bobby Lee was talking about it, and he's like cracking up about it.
All right.
Dude, it's so offensive. It's offensive on purpose. Like when you watch it, you'll see.
All right.
But the song is so damn catchy at that. That's what's even
But man, yeah, I don't know. You and I have mentioned this before. We've joked. I just put out a video over the Agatha All Along series that just came out last week, episode 1 and 2, for Marvel, Disney Plus. And I love it. I love that name. It's perfect. I love the alliteration. I'm a stickler for language and punctuation and spellings and all kinds of crazy shit like that. It's weird. But anyway, so yeah, the building a channel on live streams is a terrible idea. And anybody out there thinks they can do it, then it's the most difficult thing you could try to do, because you're not going to get people to watch you for 2 hours. They're going to bounce in and out and in and out and in and out. They're going to watch average viewers 18 minutes. I think I look at 20 minutes is the average viewer on the live streams we do on Tuesdays, and on my Fridays they're even less. But I have ADHD, and it is really difficult for me to start and finish a project. And I'm in the middle of editing, and I'm like, I need to smoke a cigarette. And then I'll start watching a YouTube video, and then I'll be done with my cigarette, and I'll come back inside, and I'll be like, man, I need to smoke a cigarette. It's the dumbest shit. When I focus and sit down, I can come up with ideas, but I'm trying to find my style. What style works, the style I want to go with my videos. We are our own worst critic. And so every time I watch one of my videos, I'm like, does anybody really like this? Is that funny? So I bought a teleprompter, and I'm going to write my scripts, and then I'm going to stick my camera in the teleprompter, and I'm going to try to do it that way. So it's a little more natural, and I'm not going,
I feel personally attacked.
I know you do. I'm sorry, snowflake. No, it's just one of those things. It's like, like I just said, and I'll say it a million times. So I need a teleprompter to tell me what to see. I need to be Ron fucking Burgundy.
That's what I was going to say. Be careful.
Well, I'm the one typing the script,
Again, be careful.
Yeah, I know, right? But I just want to get better at speaking on camera, and I want to get better at entertaining on camera. And I feel like anything I can try to do to help train myself to do that, I at least want to try. So I'm going to at least give that a shot, at least on certain videos.
Yeah.
I bought a great camera. I bought a mirrorless camera, a good Sony. It's probably about 10 years old, but it's a great camera. I bought a great microphone, one of the Shure microphones that everybody's using now on YouTube. I've got some okay lighting. So I'm trying to upgrade and just that way make myself feel even more comfortable. So when I do go to make a video, then I know I'm at least giving my best, or at least I'm trying to show my best, But I do love doing lives. I like talking, as you can tell.
Oh, we know.
Tell me about it.
We know. Especially towards the end of Punk's Pit when it's like,
hey, now.
Leave an hour ago.
I know. Well, now, usually I can tell when you're tired. And actually, if you go back and look at Punk's Pits, I usually end up bailing before everybody else at the end of them. You guys will go on for another 15, 20, 30 minutes. Maybe. If you actually go back and watch them, I guarantee you I'm going, hey, guys.
I don't need to rewatch myself.
I'm out.
I don't need to.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
Why do you think the last video got so fucked up? All right.
Dude, oh my God. I was going to tell you. Oh my God. 5.5 minutes of I was like, awesome.
I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it on Monday.
I loved it.
I'll talk about it now. So there's another video I didn't know it. I did not know this. It is, I want to say the low light 2-pack. And someone says, you got to watch the end. It's the best. He's upside down. And I went, what? Obviously, no one made it to the end because no one else made a comment about it. This is like 2 weeks after the video's been out.
Wow.
Because I try and answer comments, but after a day or so, then they get, like, if you're making a comment on an old video, sometimes it gets lost.
Yes.
So I go and watch it, and I get to the end, and I'm upside down. I'm like, what the fuck? So there's nothing I can do about it, and I'm not going to remove stuff. So I talked to Woody, and Woody said he has the exact same problem because he uses his iPhone. So it's done on iMovie. Him and I were talking, and I said something about it. Like, I've had that exact same issue. So I did this one. I did this video, and both my opening and ending, where I talked to the camera, I was upside down. Now the video was so long, it kept failing. Now, if you've ever edited on an iPhone, you have to have so much space or it fails. And it's very frustrating because I have more than enough space, but it's allocated. I don't even know. So I had to redo the whole thing.
Damn.
I mean, it's already saved, but I just have to resave it back onto it.
Okay.
So it saves. I looked at it and everything was fine. And I'm like, how did I miss that it was in slow motion? But again, I'm not going to watch the whole thing. I watch as it transitions, but it's fine for about 10 seconds. And then it goes into the slow motion. I had no reason to watch that.
Because I get it.
So once it's saved onto that, I was fine, right? And and the reason why the one ended upside down is I'm only proofing it when it's cut up in iMessage, not when I save it. But it's when it's being saved, sometimes it does these wacky things. So that's why. But I never heard Woody never said anything about slow motion. I never seen anything. And when someone said it was a slow motion, I'm like, what are you talking? And I went and watched it. I'm like, and I watched the whole thing, and I'm like, oh my! And I kept skipping. I'm like, oh my god, it's so long.
It's 5.5 minutes. It's 5.5 minutes long.
I tried doing it in what is it 1.5, I think, and I'm like, still can't hear anything because it was so fucking slow. And then I know, like Ken told me I should just go edit it out. I'm like,
you have to take it down. You lose.
No. I could just remove it.
Yeah.
I could just go in and remove that, but I'm like, fuck it, I don't care. Like,
whatever.
Review after 2 weeks, a month, no one's ever gonna watch it again.
Nope.
Very few people will watch it, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't matter because it didn't affect the actual review. It's just me talking about it, and people are gonna laugh. And I'm go read the comments. Some people are like, the fact that you don't get mad about it and you just like that's what makes you you.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Why would I be mad? It's not like I produced some TV show, and not like I put like this half-hour TV show together and then 5 minutes of it's fucked up, and it's like, well, it ruins the whole thing.
It's at the very back end anyway. You've already, not only had fun with the figure, you went outside. You've already shut it off.
If I would have noticed, like let's say what had happened during me throwing up the parachute, I would have taken it down because that would have ruined the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I love that part. And my favorite part actually, and I was actually, you could tell how, like when you're actually having fun and you like what you do and you're doing it, because the first time I watched it through and I seen you go outside and throw up in the air, and when he comes down and you go, woo! And I was like, yeah, he's loving this shit.
It's fun. Someone made a comment about like about all I work out. I should have thrown it up. I should have been able to throw it up higher. And they were joking, right? They were joking.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you throw it up, it opens up, so there's all that wind resistance against it.
Going
so
up.
I
Yeah,
can only throw it up so high.
Right. Yeah. No, you can try. And it's gonna come down pretty quick too. Even though it has resistance, it's still gonna come down pretty quick.
Where if you drop it from like a 5-story building, it's still gonna come down at a fast speed, but it's way faster than a regular figure, or way slower than a regular figure if you just dropped.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
But it was fun. Like,
yeah.
It was fun, and that's
that I thought it was funny at the end, and it's and you're right. Who cares?
Yeah, if that would have been in slow motion, could you imagine if that whole section?
Oh, wow!
I would have pulled that down because and for everyone that's watching, that me deciding to go out and do that that came to my mind at the end of the video. Like when you hear me say, you know what, hey, for educational purposes, let's go out and do it. That was the first time that even came to mind.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, I'm going to go do this. It came, am I, let's go fucking do it.
Yeah. Spur of the moment. I mean, that's kind of, I've told Matthew this. I am kind of a fly by the seat of my pants type of person. And I really enjoy like when things happen that way, and it's just kind of something that comes up and you're just like, yeah, that sounds great, or that'd be fun. Let's go do it, and especially with videos or whatever. So that's one of my favorite parts. As I said, like, I see the figure, but I just like seeing you outside throwing it up in the air.
And it made it so I had a chance that I could put it right at the beginning so people could see me doing it, but not see the end of it.
Right.
And I look at the analytics, and there's a huge spike at the end, which meant people kept going back and watching it.
Yep.
And I wish I would have had someone that could have filmed it there and been closer. But you got the gist of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Now, you were also using those new clip mic that you got. Is that the Rode ones, or is that the
they're Hollyland?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I've been researching them. I've been researching several different ones, so trying to figure out what best.
I think they're coming out with new models because these are on sale for like $70 or $80.
Yeah,
for the dual, you can get a single one for $50.
Yeah, right.
So if you need a link, let me know. I'll send it to you because I can make commission off it.
Right.
Well, look, I really like them.
What
the Rode ones are a lot more expensive too.
Yeah, the Rode ones are more expensive. Now I've read great reviews on them, and I've also seen some reviews that have said that it stopped pairing and it wouldn't pair anymore.
So the reason
I've seen different ones.
The reason why I went with the Hollyland is because it's what Andrew used in his school class. But the ones they used were like $250 for a dual, but they were smaller. But from everything I read, it's pretty much the same quality. These ones are a little bit bigger.
Right.
I mean, I could tell when I went out there was a little bit more noise, even though I had the noise cancellation on.
A little bit. You got a little compression on them too.
Yeah.
Right. Like the louder you are, the mic, wants to kind of get that. You get that.
So I mean, but I was outside. Where normally I'm just sitting in this room and.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But you could hear me, so.
That's the main thing, man. That's one thing I always heard, especially with YouTube. It's like, hey, you know what? If you can get a decent camera, great. But really,
people will deal with
about the sound.
Yeah, unless if you're like obviously, if I had a shitty camera and I'm trying to do a review and show you,
oh sure,
it's bad.
But ultimately,
the sound will make someone tune out.
Mm-hmm. They'll click it right off of there if it sounds like crap.
There are some people that do live streams that I won't listen to because
there's some that I agree. I've tried and I'm like I can't.
And there might be really good people, but it's like I just can't listen to you.
And think like there might be somebody you know, or I'm not that you necessarily know them personally, but maybe you know of them or they're in the. But like even if you are willing to click off of that because of that, think of somebody who doesn't know. Like,
exactly.
Is it? They're like, nah, see ya.
So I say we're gonna wrap it up. 3.5 hours.
Yeah, man.
These keep getting longer and longer. These were supposed to be like an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. You get me talking, there ain't no hour and a half to it, man.
Well, no, I'm talking about in the beginning. I gave up the hour and a half a long time.
Yeah, and I remember hearing you say that actually.
Once they went into the 2 hour mark, and then like it's like it's gonna be another and they're now going longer than Monday show.
Yeah, and I like I said, I want to be respectful of your time, especially, and that's like with Matthew on Tuesday nights. I don't like going, more than 2.5 at the most, man, because I know, he gets up early and all that. So, but I do. There's one thing I do want to say, and then I know you'll probably say, tell everybody whatever, blah blah. If you do care about pop culture, and you do care about watching some people who do really good streams. They're really funny, good people, fun to watch. Nerdrotic, spelled just like it sounds, Nerdrotic. Critical Drinker is another one. Heels versus Babyface is another great one. Mauler has some amazing reviews on Star Wars stuff. And Little Platoon is another one that I really, really, really enjoy. And Snarky J is really hot. But anyway, so that's just a few of the people that I watch. They're great. They do a great job. The Geeks and Gamers guys, all of those. So if you happen to be watching this or rewind it, check some of those out. If you want some funny commentary on Marvel and Star Wars and Rings of Power and all that stuff, man. Great, great stuff. And then my stuff, obviously, at Pop Blender.
And tell everyone where they can find you.
Well, obviously, Pop Blender 75 on Instagram, obviously. Although mainly I just remind everybody when I'm going live or a new video. But Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, I'm with Matthew Matson. And we'll come up with a new name. I'm a huge Dan Patrick fan, so I kind of stole it. But the big show with Matthew every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Okay. Yeah, that's where it comes from. And
I'm like, this is the name of a show, but okay.
Dan and Keith. Nah, but if you remember the 90s. But no, so me and Matthew every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then every Friday, I'm gonna try to keep it consistent with my unfiltered streams, which is just me. I try to do that at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday nights. But every other Wednesday, hard to kind of tell everybody, I do Sevens Wild with 3-Star Draw on his channel. And it's a G.I. Joe centric stream that we do there. And yes, Peak Sports Center for sure. But that's about it, man. I just put out a new video. Go check it out. It's called Is Agatha All Along the Gayest Marvel Show Ever? That's what it's been called by the media. So that is my review for Agatha All Along, episodes 1 and 2 on Disney Plus. It's on my channel now. Go check it out. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a sub. But thank you, Punk. Been a pleasure. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while since you told me. So
thank you for joining. And all his links, the 2 of them, are in the description.
That's all I got, baby.
All right. Thank you. I will see everyone on Monday. I don't have a topic.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Really.
Idiots! Incompetent buffoons!
What is it now, Commander?
Consummate morons, incapable of coherent thought.
Are you watching that show again?
Yes.
Why didn't you just watch Pop Blender and Matthew's discussions, news, reviews before the show came out? Whether you agree or disagree, the perspectives provide enough context to know if the show or movie is worth your time or not.
Yes, I know. I will not miss another Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central on Pop Blender's channel.
Be more than once a man by watching Pop Blender and Matthew talk about pop culture news, discussions, and reviews on Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And now you know.
Televiper, be sure to hit like, share, and subscribe so we do not miss another episode. And hit that bell notification